Jianwu State, Qi Palace. The Prince of Qi Mansion is the oldest family lords in the Jianwu Kingdom. In the early years, Emperor Qi followed Emperor Wu to create the great cause of the family and the country. He laid down thousands of miles of the country, sealed his wife and shaded his son, and passed on the throne from generation to generation. The state of Jianwu established the country with martial arts, and the Qi family established the country with martial arts. The ancestors of Qi Qiagong have a pair of palms, and he has no opponents in 51 states. He even jumped out of the limits of martial arts, cultivated into a wheel, and cultivated into supernatural powers. For the king of Qi and the lord, Qi Palace naturally attaches great importance to martial arts. The children of the Qi family do not practice martial arts. There are often outstanding children who enter the court as officials and worship as generals. As a result, the Qi family has become more and more standing, no one can shake it. The children of the Prince of Qi dynasty had to practice martial arts every day, and did not rest until the 3 poles of the sun. Therefore, whenever it was the 5th shift, the oil altar was set up in the palace, and the fire was blazing, shining bright as the day. On this day, many children of the Qi family finished their martial arts training and left in all directions. After a while, 2 messengers came forward and arranged the messy equipment in order. Zishuan, just now those young masters were practicing martial arts. I took a peek, and even learned 2 tricks. A strong man with a body like an iron pagoda Kong Gu made 2 moves of Sanchao, the palm of his hand raised the wind, screamed vigorously, quite rooted. It is the 2 styles of the Qi Palace. He was peeped intentionally or unintentionally. Learn 2 styles and show off in front of your companions. The Zishuan in his mouth is his partner. Next to him is a handsome young man, a small servant in King Ai from the Qi Palace. The surname is Zhongnan, and the word is Zishuan. He is 14 or 5 years old. He is handsome and handsome. People, on the contrary, are like the son of a big family. Pillar, you don't want to die. Jiangnan looked around vigilantly, and said in a low voice, we are the servants, at most we can learn some low-level martial arts of the foreign palace. Just now you used the advanced martial arts of the royal palace. Last time Lu Haida was found to be stolen. After learning the advanced martial arts of the royal palace, the body was exposed for 3 days after being beaten to death by a master of the inner palace. Zishuan, you are too careful. What I learned is nothing but moves, not mental methods. Taizhu patted him on the shoulder again, and smiled. The reason why Lu Haida was killed last time, I heard that he stole one of the 4 great magic arts of the palace. Seeing him disapproving, Jiangnan admonished, be careful to sail the boat for 10,000 years. Zishuan, although I am a messenger now, it does not mean that I will be a servant for the rest of my life. If I have practiced my skills, I will also be able to worship the image in the future, under 1 person, above 10,000 people. Taizhu was so angry that he suddenly remembered something, and said with a serious face, Zishuan, I heard that you bought a fox in the vegetable market. Fox is the most evil thing. If you want to feed, be your brother's persuasion or dispel it. This idea, beware of being sucked up by the foxes. The slums of the Prince of Qi are the easiest place to recruit monsters. I heard that there are foxes and wild wolves who have cultivated into monsters. They hang out in the slums and specialize in inhaling the yang energy of young men. A handsome young man and a scholar, he is definitely the favorite of fairies. Zhongnan dumbly said with a smile, where did so many monsters come from? I just saw that fox was scorched, and the hunter wanted to peel it and eat it. It was really pitiful, and I bought it after a moment of relentless heart. When it healed, I just bought it. I let it go. I heard my mother say that fairies still like to eat the heart, liver, and kidneys of young boys. A strong man like me slept with female fairies in a slum for 1 night, and the next day he got up and found that his 2 kidneys were eaten. Some of them had their heads gnawed off, eating the heart and liver in their stomachs. Taizhu continued. Jiang Nan glared at him. Tai Zhu turned a blind eye, and continued to nag. I also heard that some female elves like to pick up yang and nourish yin. There are strong men like me who sleep with female elves in the slums, and they were lighted the next day. Yang Qi has become human. Jiangnan has been busy all day, returning to his residence, the slum in Taizhukou. The servants of the palace are also divided into 3, 6, or 9 grades. The upper-class servants live in the palace. They are the most favored and have high wages. They can often get rewards, and they have no worries about food and clothing. The treatment is comparable to the ordinary sons of the rich. Master. Inferior servants live outside the house. They are laborious laborers. They do dirty and heavy work. Their wages are pitifully low. They have a meal without a meal, and they are often beaten and abused. It is also common to be beaten to death. Thing. Jiangnan called out, and saw a fox with mottled fur came out lazily from the room. The boy picked up the fox and walked towards Loxia Mountain outside the city. Disaster victims in troubled times are not as cheap as dogs. He is not a citizen of Jianwu, but a refugee who has fled. His hometown has suffered a catastrophe, thousands of miles of fire and water, and it is said that it was a battle between 2 gods and mortals. Millions of refugees fled thousands of miles, hungry all the way, and their bones filled the wild. At night, there were ghosts and fires on the wasteland, and the corpses of wild dogs and wild wolves were cultivated into spirits, and they came from the billowing black fog. In the middle of the night, he broke into the refugees to find a living person to eat. The Jiangnan family was originally a big family, the scholarly family, but this catastrophe caused the huge family to fall apart, the masters and servants scattered for their lives. Jiangnan fled from the chaos to the Jianwu country, forced to make a living, had to sell himself to the Qi palace be a slave. In the falling mountains, Jiangnan settled, took a breath, his chest gradually bulged, like a big drum hidden in his chest, and his heart beats like a drum, banging. He only heard the crackling sound coming from his body, and the large tendons gradually tightened under the skin, like a crossbow, with a light movement, it made the sound of bow pulling. Snapped. He slapped his palm into the air like a whip, making a crisp sound. His style is exactly the same as Tai Zhu's stolen learning of martial arts in the Prince of Qi, but he is many times more proficient than Tai Zhu. The young masters of the Prince of Qi mansion are mostly stupid. It took more than a month for them to learn martial arts as simple as the singular master of the monument. Although he looks delicate and beautiful, his moves are wide open at the moment, his hands are like 2 mountain axes, and he cuts and cuts, cuts left and right, and after a few breaths, he used Qi Palace's unique hunyuan to open the steel. The whistling wind in the mountains and forests sounded, and the palm wind fist in the south of the Yangtze River rolled up the dead branches and leaves, and the moves were as fierce as a strong man wielding a giant hammer. He is simply a master who has been immersed in martial arts for more than 10 years. Like Tai Zhu, he also secretly learned the martial arts of the Prince of Qi, but unlike Tai Zhu who only learned the fur, Jiangnan obviously learned more and learned the essence. Even the young master of the Prince of Qi has not learned yet, he just already mastered. No one knows that Jiangnan, who has always been gentle and looks like a weak scholar, has such a domineering and fierce ability. Zhu Ziyi doesn't want to be a servant for a lifetime, and I don't want to either. To get ahead in troubled times, it's not on the strength of the economy, but the force. His fists and feet suddenly slowed down and turned into another martial arts of the Prince of Qi. The hands between his hands are like holding a bright moon, sometimes like pulling a rushing Yangtze River, appearing extremely heavy, and in the weight, there is a bright moon rising from the river. It's bright. The river flows out of the deep valley. The moon hangs in the sky. The river is born with the tide. This is another martial art of the Prince of Qi. The 3 styles in the Jianjiao Palangju, one of the 4 masterpieces of the town government. One of the best, is the pinnacle of martial arts in the Qi Palace. Jianjiao Palangju has 10 styles, each of which contains a layer of martial arts mentality, Corresponding to the 10 martial arts realms, Jiangnan only obtains 3 of them. He rehearsed these 3 forms back and forth, and the true qi in his body was like the Yangtze River billowing, the waves were surging, tumbling endlessly, and the true qi was condensed, turning into a bright moon, rising from the sea of qi around his waist, like a bright moon going out to sea. It rises slowly, and finally rises to the center of the eyebrows, and the light shines. The moon rises and the moon falls, endless reincarnation. This is a feeling, not because a bright moon really rises in the sea of qi, but the Genkai induction caused by the Jianjiao breaking wave art. This set of breaking waves of his tactics was obtained from Lu Haida. 1 year ago, Lu Haida stole the heart of the Prince of Qi, which was Jianjiao breaking the waves. Unfortunately, there were only 3 of them. Lu Haida was illiterate, and although he had obtained the mind method, he did not know how to practice, so he quietly found Jiangnan with the mind method. But he was also clever, breaking up the paragraphs in his mind, and coming to ask for advice one by one, so that Jiangnan could explain the profound meaning in the words, so that Jiangnan would not see that this is a martial arts. After Jiangnan explained it, he would take these again. The profundity and righteousness are connected into one body, and the tactics of breaking waves are cultivated. Jiangnan quickly noticed the trickiness inside, and still answered Lu Haida calmly. At the same time, he secretly wrote down the wave-breaking tactics, slowly sorted out the deduction, and finally restored these 3 types of wave-breaking tactics. Lu Haida's cultivating Palangju was discovered by the Prince Qi mansion. The general manager Qi Yang killed him. Zhang Nan was a little nervous at first, for fear of implicating himself. Later, this matter was not resolved, so he was relieved. After a year of hard cultivation, Jiangnan's Genkai has been quite impressive. Even among the many descendants of the Prince of Qi family, they can also be ranked in the middle. There are 10 levels of martial arts, including 5 levels of refining body and 5 levels of refining qi. The 5 levels of body refining are divided into skin, meat, tendons, bones, and membranes. I have practiced Jianjiao breaking waves art. It's like opening a strong crossbow, with a simple body, several times more powerful than a brawny man like a pillar. He secretly said in his heart, the Jianjiao 3 styles I got from Lu Haida can only allow me to practice to the 3rd level of martial arts, the realm of Jinjin. If I want to go further, I can only rely on myself to deduce the 4th style. 4 levels of mind. In 1 year, Jiangnan relied on this set of Jianjiao breaking waves formula, Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com, cultivated into the 3 martial arts realms of skin, flesh, and muscles, and the speed of cultivation was not slower than those of the children of the Prince of Qi. Even faster. As for the 5 levels of Qi refining, it is divided into Qi refining, Hunyuan, Nei Gang, Wei Gang, and God Wheel. I am now practicing to the peak of bone refining, and there are still 6 realms from God Wheel. It is estimated that it will take many years of hard work. It can be done. There are many masters in the Palace of Qi, but there are not many who can cultivate to the wheel. It is not difficult to refining the 5 levels of body, but the difficulty is the 5 levels of refining Qi. Jiangnan closed his eyes and concentrated, his brain was running fast, deducing the various mysteries of Jianjiao breaking the waves. Suddenly his figure moved, he unfolded the 4th formula of his imagination, then stood still, closed his eyes and continued to improve. Yan Baba, the mottled white fox, slumped under a big tree and took a nap, occasionally opened his eyes to peek at Jiangnan martial arts. Its snow-white fur was burned unevenly by the fire, and its black and flowery pieces were spotted and its tail was bare. Weak, as if in a serious illness, but her eyes were as charming as a woman. As night fell, Zhang Nan secretly returned to the slum outside the Prince Qi mansion to wash and eat. In the middle of the night, he was sleepy and fell asleep in bed. The moon rises, and the dim light shines through the tattered window frame from the outside into the room, spilling on the bedside. The white fox got out of the corner of Zixi Suoshuo, blinked his eyes and looked at Jiang Nan, who was sleeping, suddenly took a long breath, and saw a strong yang qi overflowing from Jiang Nan's breath, being continuously sucked into his body by it. The moonlight swayed, and the room seemed to be breezy, which made people feel a chill. The charred fur of the white fox began to fall off slowly, and the new snow-white fur grew at a speed visible to the naked eye, but Jiangnan was still drowsy and didn't feel anything. This situation has happened again. At the 4th hour, Jiangnan woke up suddenly, feeling weak in his body. He was a little afraid of the winter cold, and his bones were much weaker than yesterday. He was shocked and hurriedly adjusted his internal breath. Overnight, his cultivation base fell by as much as 40%. This situation has occurred more than once. Recently, after waking up, he found that his body was weak and his cultivation base was greatly damaged. I have cultivated to the pinnacle of the 3rd level of the 10 levels of martial arts. The copper tendons and iron bones will not invade the cold and heat. Logically speaking, the body will only get stronger and stronger, the blood will be strong, and the evil will not invade, let alone all diseases. If you don't live, even the lonely ghost will be pushed back by his strong yang energy and dare not get close. Could it be said that there is a problem with the 4th layer mental method of the Jianjiao Palang's art that I performed? Jiangnan frowned slightly. Suddenly he noticed some shed fur in the room. He couldn't help but hum, leaning over and picking up a handful of hair, only to see that these hairs were scorched, and he couldn't help being surprised. This is that little fox's hair. Jiangnan only noticed that the little fox is not in the room now. There are only some scattered fox furs in the room, just like this fox is shedding and changing skins. Could it be that the pillar was right? I really bought a fox from the vegetable market? I have not advanced and retreated in the past few days. It should not be a problem with my mind, but this fox is sucking me. Yang Qi. Jiangnan's eyes gleamed, put on a long gown, and walked out along the shedding fur. The moonlight outside the door is like water, and it is terribly quiet. It is 4 watch days. In the autumn and winter, the cold is deep into the bones. Soon after, the moon will set, the sun has not yet risen, and the world is in darkness. Jiang Nan was not at all flustered, his face was a little immature, he was only a 14-year-old boy, but when he fled, he was used to seeing corpses and blood, and he was accustomed to seeing monsters and ghosts running rampant in the pile of corpses. He has now been tempered. With the heart of the rock, even if the sky falls, he can't change his color. The cold wind blows, and the slums are the residences of the servants of the palace, extremely shabby and shabby. Jiangnan settled down, walked out of the slum, and arrived outside the city, only to see the moonlight, as if attracted by something. The surrounding moonlight of more than 10 feet came in one after another, the light condensed into a little bit of light visible to the naked eye, and fell on the Yangchuan River in front. By the river, where the moonlight gathers, a woman sits leaning on the river with her back to him, her black hair hanging down like a waterfall from the side of her thin shoulders, sucking the moonlight. The moon was surging, and the moonlight was cold. The woman was wearing sable fur. The white sable fur and jet black hair could not cover the white jade neck. The black snow reflected each other, and the snow reflected the snow, like a fairy walking down on paintings and calligraphy. Her back is graceful and graceful, she looks very pretty, but in the place where her hair falls, there is a fluffy fox's tail showing out. After being charming, she carries a bit of weirdness, it can be described as a dreamy land. The pillar is right. The fox I bought from the vegetable market is indeed a vixen. It seems that the yang flow in my body these days is fading, and she is indeed secretive. Jiangnan took a long breath and walked forward. The Jianjiao wave-breaking art circulated, and the true energy rushed in his body, and walked towards the woman in Diokaiu. The woman was unaware, she didn't seem to feel the murderous aura emanating from Jiangnan. Instead, she moved her shoulders slightly, holding a bamboo branch, and painting something on the river beach. Jiangnan walked to the woman's side and looked to her side, his mind was slightly shaken, and even his murderous aura couldn't help being weakened. The Diokaya girl is not very old, she is only 20 years old, she is beautiful and graceful. She is not like a human figure at all. She is as beautiful as an immortal, her skin is better than snow, and she is carved with powder and jade. She is like the finest and most beautiful paintbrush of the heavens, focusing all the beauty of the world on her. Her eyes are as charming as a fox, and they are breathtakingly beautiful. She has a palpable sense of beauty, smoky and charming, like an elf who sneaks into the night with the wind. Her eyes are like two bright moons, and she is shining brightly, sometimes it is a full moon, and sometimes it is a crescent. Holding a bamboo branch in her hand, she drew very complicated patterns on the ground. Jiang Nan looked down at the patterns, and was startled, only to see the first picture drawn by the woman, which was surprisingly the first style of Jianjiao breaking the waves. When the river flows out of the deep valley, not only the moves are changed, but the qi is even running. Line. Just follow this picture to practice, and you can definitely develop the first formula of Jianjiao breaking waves. The paintings she drew were more complicated than the Jianjiao breaking waves art I got. Jiang Nan's slightly immature face showed a look of surprise, and then the color of surprise became thicker and his expression became more and more serious. He could see that the first style of the Jianjiao Palang Ju painted by this woman, although it was similar to the real one. The Jianjiao wave breaking technique is slightly different, but its power has not been reduced at all. It is even more perfect and more powerful than the real Jianjiao wave breaking technique. The second formula of the Jianjiao wave breaking technique, the bright moon hangs in the sky. Jiangnan looked at the second picture, and his heart was shocked. The second picture is a bright moon hanging in the sky. It has also been improved and is better than the original Jianjiao wave breaking art. Then there is the third style of Daijiang with Chaosheng, and the fourth style of bright moon illuminating the river, all drawn by this woman. Especially when the bright moon shines on the river, Jiangnan didn't get this kind of mental technique, only relied on his own ingenuity to deduce the incomplete mental technique, knowing that it is not comparable to the original Jianjiao breaking the waves. When he saw the bright moon shining on the river painted by this woman, his heart was greatly shaken. Wonderful, really wonderful. After the bright moon shines on the big river, there are still a series of patterns, which are impressively the follow-up moves and mental methods of Jianjiao Palang Ju, which are extremely delicate and extremely detailed. One of the four masterpieces of the Prince of Qi, the Jianjiao breaking wave secret art that many people have dreamed of, appeared in front of Jiangnan without reservation, even more profound and perfect than the original version. Jiangnan looked fascinated, forgetting that the mysterious woman next to her was not a human being, but a vixen who stole her own yang. This kind of encounter can be said to be dreamy and Li, and no one believes it. Hey? Jianjiao Palang Ju still has the 11th formula. Jiang Nan has fully understood the first 10 moves and mental methods, and suddenly saw the 11th picture, and his heart was shaken, and he lost his voice. How is it possible? Jianjiao breaking the waves clearly only has 10 styles. How could there be an 11th suddenly? Formula. His gaze swept all the way, and he saw that in addition to the 11th formula of Jianjiao Palang Ju, there were 7 patterns at the back, and a total of 18 pictures in total. The Jianjiao wave breaking technique means a layer of mind. There are 18 moves here. Doesn't it mean that there are 18 layers of martial arts? Jiangnan was stunned, this simply subverted his common sense. How can it be impossible? A sound like a silver bell came, and the quiet voice awakened him from shock. Jiang Nan only then remembered that there was a woman turned into a fox demon beside her. He turned around and looked at her. She was shocked again, seeing that the majestic woman just now had disappeared, leaving only a white fox sitting on the spot. Don't panic, son, I just don't have good cultivation skills and can't change into adults for a long time. The white fox vomited, with eyebrows like a moon, exactly the same as the eyes of the beautiful woman just now, as if she had snuggled up in the usual money of a woman, and said, "My son, I suffered a catastrophe not long ago, and I was secretly calculated and cultivated. Lost, the soul is scattered, you must use yang qi to repair the soul, otherwise it will be scattered. Thank you, son, for not letting me die by the hunter's hands. I did not get the answer from the son, so I made my own way and borrowed your 40% yang qi, to repair the soul. These 18 Jianjiao waves breaking tactics are my little compensation. The girl's words are serious. 40% of the yang energy is exchanged for such a precious mentality. I can't wait for the girl to take a few more. Zhang Nan suppressed the shock in his heart and bowed in return. The white fox produced 18 Jianjiao wave-breaking secrets, which clearly meant to repay her. Although she stole a bit of yang qi from her, it only slightly damaged his cultivation level. So Jiangnan has no intention of pursuing it. Dare to ask the girl, why does the Jianjiao breaking waves art you painted have 18 levels of mind? Could it be said that there is a higher realm above the God Wheel? Also, girl, you are so proficient in Jianjiao breaking waves art. Could it be said that your Jianjiao wave breaking technique is the real mental method? Zhang Nan asked many questions in his heart in one breath. The martial arts can communicate with the gods, and above the wheel, there are magical powers. The eyes of the white fox are like two crooked autumn moons, charming and moving. I am not proficient in the Jianjiao breaking waves art. I just saw the son practicing this mental method, and based on the characteristics of the mental method, I deduced the following methods. Wu is just the starting point of Tao. The front is endless. These 8 pictures are the mental methods of the 8 realms of supernatural power above the divine wheel. Jiangnan's heart was shocked. He once heard the old slaves in the Qi palace talk about the king of Qi, and talked about the anecdote of the king of Qi, saying that he was able to fly in the sky, soaring through the clouds and driving the fog, and he had cultivated magical powers. He originally thought it was just a legend, but now it seems that King Qi may indeed have cultivated supernatural powers. I calculated the 4th mental method of Jianjiao Palang Ju. I thought that my wits are already rare in the world. I didn't expect that compared to the girl you are, I am really insignificant. Zhang Nan admired it from the bottom of his heart. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com couldn't help but praised. My son, don't belittle yourself. The reason why I was able to figure out the follow-up mental method of Jianjiao Palang Ju was not based on my ingenuity, but my thousands of years of cultivation experience and vision. You can deduce the 4th mental method. It is already extremely remarkable, and I may not be able to deduct it when I am in your state. The white fox glared and turned and said, My son, now my spirit has not completely recovered. I still need to use the sun's yang energy to repair the spirit, and I hope that the sun will be perfect, and I can borrow 40% yang energy every day. Jiangnan paused for a moment, and said, Girl, you absorb my yang energy. Doesn't it mean that when my yang energy is exhausted, it is my death date? These days, Taizhu has been chatting in his ears, talking about some strange things about the fox's brilliant yang and nourishing yin. Zhang Nan thought of these things now. Compared with his current situation, he couldn't help but feel a little nervous. The white fox dumbly said with a smile, The martial artist has a strong blood and a steady flow of yang. Unlike those weak scholars, who have a thin yang. The sun was sucked by me for a few breaths of yang, and he would not die. It was just for your cultivation. Some damage, but with your qualifications, you will be able to train back soon. Will I lose 40% of yang qi every day? Will it make me underdeveloped? Jiangnan looked a little embarrassed, and explained in a low voice, I'm only 14 years old, and I'm developing my body. The white fox can't help being laughed, his eyes bent into crescents, and he chuckled and said, Don't worry, my son, I have my own measures and will not affect the development of my son. Moreover, if you provide 40% of the yang qi in me every day, you will continue to supply it until I recover. I naturally have other benefits for the son. Jiangnan's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly agreed that the Jianjiao wave-breaking art that the white fox had just turned him overwhelmed him, so the other benefits would definitely be even more amazing. The white fox is not eager to tell Jiangnan what the other benefits are, and said leisurely, "My son, let me ask you, what is your purpose of practicing martial arts?" Jiangnan was startled slightly, thinking of his low-pitched, servant-like life after arriving in the country of Jianwu. He didn't know what it was like, and after a while, he said bitterly, "I practice martial arts, I just want to change my current status. I don't want to continue to be the next person to be a low-level person. With your current cultivation level, you can enter the realm of qi refining in half a year. When you reach the realm of qi refining, you can participate in martial arts, and naturally you will no longer be a subordinate. When you cultivate to the realm of refining qi, this is your cultivation. The goal of..." The white fox's eyes showed a sneer, and said, "My son, if you become a master of martial arts and become a wheel in one fell swoop, there are only a few masters who have mastered the wheel in the entire Jianwu country that can compare with you, and you will still be satisfied with just don't you want to be a servant? Now that you have the 18th style of the Jianjiao wave-breaking art, are you still afraid that you won't be able to cultivate into a wheel?" Jiangnan heard the words, moved in his heart, and said with a smile, "If I were a master of the divine wheel realm, my goal would naturally be higher. If that day, I will worship the generals, open up the frontiers and expand the territory for the Jianwu country, and leave a name for the history. What if your achievements surpass the wheel, enter the Tao with martial arts, cultivate supernatural powers in one fell swoop, and become a character who can stand shoulder to shoulder with the king of Qi Mansion?" The white fox took a step forward, looking directly at Zhang Nan's eyes, and his words pointed to his heart. "At that time, you moved and changed, and your magical powers were vast. With a move of your mind, you can take the head of a person thousands of miles away. Your force, even if it is the emperor of the Jianwu kingdom and the masters of the Manchu dynasty, will not be your opponent. You can subvert a dynasty with your own power, and you can even become the emperor yourself, build a country, establish a business, and expand your territory." Jiangnan's throat was dry, and the white fox almost seduced all his ambitions. If he really had that kind of force, instead of working for others, it would be better to open up territory for himself and build a big empire. Wu Dao links the gods. If one day, you are successful in cultivation and become the king, emperor, the heavens and all realms, you can dominate all realms at your fingertips. Tell me, the purpose of your practice at that time was just not wanting to be a servant? Don't you want to find revenge for the gods who destroyed your home and caused your family to die?" The white fox's voice is not loud, but it is deafening. The greater the ability, the greater the ambition. The greater the ambition, the greater the ability. Only infinite ambition is the driving force for you to move forward, and it is your greater achievement. Power. Jiangnan roared in his head, and the idea that supported his martial arts suddenly collapsed. His original purpose of martial arts was to get rid of his current situation and no longer be a slave. His greatest ideal was to revitalize the Zhang family that had fallen. And the white fox's words opened his eyes wide, showing him an incomparably vast world, so that his eyes were no longer limited to the mud-pill land of Jianwu Kingdom Qi Wangfu. "Now, tell me, what benefits do you want?" the white fox said lightly. "Girl, who are you?" Jiangnan only felt that his lips were dry, and that the white fox he had accidentally rescued became more mysterious and unpredictable. Being able to say the words just now, and able to easily perform the Jianjiao wave-breaking art, is more subtle and profound than the original mental method, and even has 8 realms. Such a fox demon is definitely not the one who only knows how to breathe books to generate yang qi. Ordinary vixen. Jiangnan suddenly remembered that the white fox in front of him had just said that she had suffered a catastrophe during her cultivation, and was conspired to fall into the field today. To what extent did she achieve her cultivation base before the catastrophe? Who am I? The white fox fell into silence, and the moon-like eyes dimmed. It seemed to remember the past. After a while, he whispered, I have lost my cultivation, my soul is almost broken, and it is no different from a new life. The glorious past, and the present, what do you have to do with me? Young master, if you use Yang Qi to repair my soul, then I will also be named Zhang. From now on, I will be Zhang Shui. In front of outsiders, you call me your sister. White Fox Zhang Shui raised her head and looked towards Jiangnan. Her tone was flat, and she whispered softly, have you thought about it? What benefits do you want? Zhang Shui, sister. Jiangnan suddenly raised his head, and his voice was a bit childish, sister, I want to learn martial arts from you. I want to avenge the ruin of my family and revenge against the gods who destroyed my homeland. Let these high gods pay the price. If in the past, he might have been satisfied with wealth status or regaining the Zhang family, but now hearing Zhang Shui's series of deafening questions, let him know that this opportunity is a real opportunity to change his life's destiny. The battle between the gods and the gods destroyed my hometown. How could such a big hatred Jiangnan be forgotten? It's just that he was really humble in the past, like an ant in front of the gods, but now, he has returned this deliberately hidden hatred. Revenge against the gods. True martial arts, after being mastered, will be able to change the mind, transcend the world, turn the river and the sea, catch the stars and take the moon, all is not a problem. On the banks of Yangchuan River, a white fox spoke seriously about martial arts, while a 14-5-year-old boy next to him was listening attentively. Although this white fox is a monster, it gives people a magnificent feeling, as if she is not a fox, but a stunning beauty sitting there. This scene is very weird, but one person and one fox didn't feel wrong at all. The speaker spoke with lotus, and the listener listened with gusto. Zishuan, Jianjiao Palangju is indeed a good martial arts mentality, but this mentality is not really a unique skill. Zhang Shui paused slightly and continued, I don't know how many mental methods I know can beat Jianjiao's wave-breaking art. It's a top-notch school. Dai Tian Longjing. Jiangnan's eyes suddenly brightened, and this mental method sounded mighty and domineering, and it was better than the Jianjiao wave-breaking art. Cultivating this mental method, your blood and yang will be extremely vigorous, almost like a real dragon. Zhang Shui followed perseverance and said with a smile, when you cultivate to the realm of supernatural powers, you will develop the supernatural powers of the dragon clan, and your cultivation base will become higher and higher, and you will be able to cultivate into the mighty powers of the mighty heavenly dragons. The supernatural powers are vast and you can travel all over the world. Come on! Jiangnan was shocked, and said, can you defeat the gods? Zhang Shui frowned slightly and shook his head, no. Even the real mighty Tianlong is also the Dragon King under the celestial seat. How can he defeat the celestial god? Jiangnan's expression darkened, sister, is there any more powerful mentality? Zhang Shui pondered for a moment, and then said in deep thought, I also have a Hunyuan and one benefit eunuch sutra here. It is an authentic Buddhism mental method. When you practice, you will have a strong yang energy. When you reach the peak of cultivation, you will have boundless mana, reaching the sky and the earth. Reaching the stars and changing the moon and the stars for a fight, it's not a problem. Jiangnan quickly asked, can this mental technique defeat the gods? Okay. Zhang Shui hesitated and said, although Buddhism's Hunyuan is very strong, it is not a god-level mental method, and it does not have much offensive power. I am afraid that it will be difficult to beat the gods, but self-protection is enough. I can't beat the gods, I still don't learn. Jiangnan shook his head again, sister, do you have a better way of thinking? Zhang Shui frowned, and said patiently, I still have another mental method called the 9 changes of the celestial silkworm. I can practice this mental method to compete with the gods, but it takes a very long time to cultivate. Wait. If you have cultivated to the realm of the gods, I am afraid that many thousands of years have passed. Sister, don't you have a quick mental method? Zhang Nan asked. Zhang Shui thought carefully, and suddenly his eyes lit up, and he smiled. I still have a mental method here, called Demon Prison Suanta Sutra, which I got after killing a demon. The Demon Prison Suanta Sutra is based on he is a demon prison, and his true energy forms a magic seed. The Yang Qi is extremely strong, not inferior to the previous methods, and even worse. If this mental method is cultivated to a very high level, it can definitely defeat the gods. But this mental method is incomplete. Only the mental method that has been cultivated to the 8th level of supernatural power, but there is no corresponding supernatural power, but from the perspective of the mental method, after reaching the highest level of cultivation, it can indeed surpass the gods. The right way and the magic way, there is no distinction between mind and law, only the character of the cultivator. Zhang Nan breathed a sigh of relief, and said with a smile, the thing of cultivating the right way of mind and demon is the devil's way, and the thing of cultivating the right way of mind and way of the devil is the right way. I may not be evil if I practice the spirit of the devil's way. I learned. Zhang Shui nodded, with a sense of appreciation in her eyes. Unexpectedly, you still have this opinion at your young age. However, the distinction between righteousness and devil is not that simple. If you are cultivating the Demon Prison Suanta Sutra, you still need to be cautious. Don't let people see it. If you let people know your top mental method for cultivating the Demon Dao, not only will the Demon Dao Masters kill you to rob you of this mental method, but the righteous Dao Masters will also kill you and defend the Dao. Zhang Nan couldn't help but murmured in his heart, I was chased by 2 realms? Doesn't it mean that my future is dark? Leave him alone. If it weren't for Sister Zhang Shui, I have no hope of revenge in this life, and now there is a ray of hope. I must hold it firmly. The ancestors lacked the law, and the heaven is not afraid. My way is the heavenly way, and my law overcomes all laws. Zhang Sui said quietly, this is the beginning of the Demon Prison Suanta Sutra. It is about the faculty of the mind created by the predecessors of the ancestors. It is not enough to be your own law, and the heavens are not afraid. The one who created the Demon Prison Suanta Sutra. Human beings are extremely proud and believe that this life is better than the past, the practice of the world is better than the ancient magical skills, and that his own law and his own way can surpass all predecessors and open up a new world. The ancestors lack the law, the heaven is not afraid. Jiangnan murmured and repeated this sentence. He has been studying sages' books since he was a child. Now, when he heard this kind of rebellious remarks, he felt both fear and excitement in his heart. Suddenly, there was a sense of pride in his heart. Yu reading www.yuuganshu.com seems to see a great demon standing upright, raising his head to the sky, to a deity that has emerged throughout the ages, saying, my law surpasses your law, and my way surpasses your way. Although this sentence is arrogant, but it does make sense. Zhang Shui sneered slightly and said, most people in the world think that today is not as good as ancient times. The world's martial arts is gradually declining. Ancient techniques are extremely powerful. With this mindset, it will never be possible in this life. Transcend the ancients, transcend the gods. It's just that, although this devil's mysterious fetus has a big tone, it is not the top mental method in the world. She narrated the Demon Prison Suanta Sutra once, and immediately attracted all the minds of Jiangnan. The Demon Prison Suanta Sutra was indeed broad and profound, and the scriptures were mysterious and unfathomable. If there weren't Zhang Shui, who was once superb and knowledgeable, to explain to him, I'm afraid that Zhang Nan would never understand and learn this mentality even if he was given the Demon Prison Mysterious Fetus Sutra. The beginning of the Demon Prison Mysterious Fetus Sutra is the foundation chapter. The flesh body is transformed into a prison, and the true qi is condensed into the demon seed. In the prison, the true qi is tempered, the demon seed is cultivated, and the physical body is tempered, and finally the qi is refined. Hunyuan becomes a gang, condenses into a wheel. When the wheel is cultivated, it is the time when the magic seed matures and turns into a mysterious fetus. This mental method is indeed far above the Jianjiao wave-breaking art. It is a pity that the demon prison Suanta Sutra is fragmented, with only mental methods and no moves. Mind method is the key to the improvement of cultivation level, while the moves are the reflection of the mind method, and the power of the mind method is directly reflected in the moves. Only the moves that match the mind can fully exert the power of the mind, and if you change to other moves, you can only exert a part of the power of the mind. Sister, what is the wheel? Jiang Nan couldn't help asking when he heard Jiang Shui mentioning the wheel many times. The wheel is the wheel of magic power. A wheel carries all you have learned in the past, and carries your martial arts insights. On the wheel, it turns into the first magic power in your life. Jiang Shui explained earnestly, your current cultivation level is far from breaking through to the realm of the wheel, and there is still a long way to go. Once you have reached the wheel, you will come into contact with the magic power. You will naturally learn more. Zishuan, you have already absorbed 40% of your yang energy by me today, so it's better to step up your cultivation. Jiang Nan's heart is tight, he and Jiang Shui have an agreement. Jiang Shui instructs him to practice, and he provides 40% of the yang qi every day for Jiang Shui to absorb and restore his soul. Take the body as a prison, use the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body-mind as the prison door, block the prison door, turn into hell, and true qi as the demon seed. Jiang Nan's thoughts moved, urging the demon prison Suanta Sutra. The 5 senses of eyes, ears, mouth, nose, and tongue were closed. It seemed that it was not looking, it seemed that hearing was not listening. He had achieved little success in practicing Jianjiao Palang Ju. There are 4 realms of skin, flesh, tendons, and bones. It is not difficult to close all the acupuncture points of the body. With a movement of your mind, you can close all of your body's tens of thousands of pores without a trace of true energy leaking out. In the end, he even closed his consciousness, imagining, thinking, and entering an unprecedented state of mind. Jiang Shui saw it, and couldn't help but nodded, saying, my brother's aptitude is not bad, and his comprehension is also excellent. It's a pity that I don't know much about the human mentality, otherwise I can cultivate a master. Unknowingly, the sun rises, and the brilliance of the morning sun is projected from the east, sprinkling on the Yangchuan River, bringing the slightest warmth to this early winter morning. It is inaccessible here, and few people will come here at this time. Demon prison Suanta Sutra runs, eyes, ears, nose, tongue and body are closed. Jiangnan's body is like a closed hell, and his true energy is like hell's demon energy, extremely overbearing. At his danshan, a lot of infuriating energy condenses and turns into a black clock. This is the magic seed. The black clock is like a seed, floating in the center of the danshan, only the size of a mustard seed. It constantly absorbs the infuriating energy and emits a crisp sound that only Jiangnan can hear. This magic seed is shaped like an inverted black clock. It is small and exquisite, and it keeps ringing. The true energy of Jiangnan floods into the magic seed, oscillates in the clock, faintly turns into a trace of black energy, and then completely disappears. He seems to have become a bottomless pit. When the sun shines on his body, the sun's vitality mixed in the light is absorbed by his body. With the body as a prison, you can only get in and can't get out. The demon prison profound fetus sutra is really domineering. Jiang Shui could not help being surprised when he saw this scene. Although she possesses the residual formula of the demon prison profound baby sutra, she has never practiced this mental method. When she sees the situation of Jiangnan cultivation, she will suddenly realize the horror of this mental method. The scene in front of me is the Jiangnan urging the demon prison Xian Fei Jing, the prison door opened by the body's tens of thousands of pores, inhaling the sun's vitality into the body, but not letting the essence leak out. Absorbs the vitality of the sun, allowing the yang qi in the south of the Yangtze River to be quickly replenished. The blood is becoming more and more vigorous, and even the true qi is rising by leaps and bounds. Boom, 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 collapse. Jiangnan heard the sound of pulling the bowstring. His large tendons were like strings, and they bounced tightly. They could explode as powerful as a strong bow and crossbow, which burst out in an instant. After the big tendons vibrated, there was another embarrassing voice in his body, but his limbs shook, and 206 bones were swept by the real qi, and there was a slight buzzing. The realm of bone refining. Jiang Shui's eyes showed a different color. In this short period of time, Jiangnan had already crossed the realm of strengthening muscles and entered the fourth realm of body strengthening, refining bones. In a short time, he broke through to the realm of fourth bone strengthening. Zishuan qualifications are better than I expected. Jiangnan regards himself as a prison. Zhen Qi nourishes the skin, muscles, and muscles. As the Zhen Qi gradually deepens, it penetrates deeper into the body. Like the tide, the Zhen Qi washes the bones, flushing out all the impurities in the bones, and the Zhen Qi nourishes the bones. Make the bones harder, build copper bars and iron bones. The bone refining realm is the foundation of the fifth periosteal realm. There are 206 bones in the human body. All bones are connected together, and there are periosteal muscles connected to form a complete whole. If you want to cultivate to the fifth realm of martial arts, you need to be thorough. Open up all the periosteum, so that Zhen Qi can run unimpeded in the periosteum. Only by refining the copper tendons and iron bones, can he withstand the extremely powerful impact of the infuriating qi when breaking through the periosteum. Otherwise, he will not be able to break through the periosteum, and his muscles and bones may be crushed by the violent infuriating qi. Many of the bone refining in the mental method are to refine the true energy into the bones, strengthen the bones, and make their bones hard enough to withstand the violent impact. For example, the Jianjiao breaking waves art is the real energy that transforms into a big river, rushes down, washing the bones all the way, and the bright moon in the heart of the river rises and shines on the bones, thus achieving the purpose of bone building. When the Zhang Minjiao washes all the bones once, it can be counted as a small achievement. This is already an extremely superior technique. But the demon prison Suanta Sutra uses itself as a hell, and at the same time it tempers 206 bones in the whole body, and uses the air of to temper the flesh, muscles, and bones to the extent that it goes hand in hand. The speed of cultivation is many times faster than the Jianjiao breaking waves. If you continue to practice at this speed, within 10 days, Jiangnan can break through the realm of bone refining and enter the realm of refining membranes. 3 rods in the sun. The sun's vitality in the sun suddenly became extremely strong. Jiangnan suddenly felt that the true energy in his body was boiling almost instantly, the blood was boiling, the yang qi became extremely domineering, he could not help but snorted, his complexion became blood red in an instant. He only heard a soft pop from his body, but the sun's vitality in the sun was too strong, causing too much yang qi to accumulate in his body, forcibly rushing through the prison gate made by his body's tens of thousands of pores. One of his pores opened, and thin flames sprang out from these pores, lit his clothes, and instantly turned him into a burning man. Zishuan, stop working mentally. Jiang Shui's face changed slightly, and she saw the white fox leaped forward, and walked to Jiangnan, and opened her mouth to inhale. The flames from Jiangnan's 180,000 pores were immediately absorbed by her, and then Jiangnan's body was too strong. She has also absorbed a lot of yang qi and heat. At the same time, Jiangnan also acted decisively and immediately stopped running the demon prison profound baby sutra, opened his mouth and vomited, and the overexpanded true energy in his body was suddenly ejected by him, turning into a long air arrow, shooting it into the distance. This arrow of air was so hot that it just flew out, and it burned with a blazing fire. It shot through a weeping willow that was hugged by 2 people on the river bank, and flew more than 10 feet away. Then it burned clean and disappeared. In the air, only an armthin hole was left on the weeping willow, as if it had been shot through by a strong crossbow. Jiangnan had a lingering fear, and there was a dangerous cry in the dark. In that short moment, he was almost incinerated to ashes by the boiling yang qi and zhen qi on the spot. If it weren't for Zhang Shui to remind him in time to stop the mental method, and to away his excessively strong yang qi and firepower, this time he would definitely be doomed. Zhang Shui showed a different color, admired again and again, and said with a smile, "It is worthy of the supreme mind of the magic door, domineering and fierce, and unparalleled in the world. This is the foundation stage of martial arts. If you go crazy, you will burn the cultivator to ashes. If you cultivate to the realm of supernatural powers and Taoist platforms, wouldn't it be even more terrifying to become devilish?" Jiangnan's face turned dark. His sister Fox still has such dangerous thoughts, is it too irresponsible? It's about his own wealth and life. Jiang Nan also had to be cautious, and asked, "Sister, after you Gang Meng, the master of the devil prison, I wonder if there is any way you can reduce the risk of getting into a demon. Your body is too weak to withstand the sturdy energy of the sun at 3 poles in the sun. It is normal to get into trouble. In the future, when you practice this mental method, you will stop immediately when you are 3 poles in the sun. You can only try it until your body is strong enough. Delay time." Zhang Shui pondered for a moment, then smiled, "But there is another way for my sister." Jiang Nan's heart moved, and the white fox's eyebrows were open and smiling, and his eyes were bent into 2 crescents, like just now, "When you get into trouble, I will absorb the excess yang and true qi from your body, so that you can not only prevent you from death, but also it can quickly restore my soul. Does this idea have the best of both worlds?" Jiangnan vetoed it hurriedly. "Joking about your own life will never have the best of both worlds. A little carelessness will kill and disable yourself. That's a shame." The fox demon sighed, "Very sorry. The method of mind, there must be a portal that allows the method of mind to go out. This portal is the maneuver, magical powers and skills to use. It is a pity that the Demon Infernal Sutra is incomplete. There are methods but no methods, and there is no way. Mind method, but there is no corresponding move. This is equivalent to guarding the treasure house full of mountains, but unable to come out with a treasure." Jiangnan no longer practiced the Demon Prison Suanta Sutra, thought carefully, and said in his heart, "I don't know if the moves I have learned before can be activated by the Demon Prison Suanta Sutra." Hunyuan opens the monument. His body suddenly moved, and a palm was cut off, and the black clock in the body of the magic seed rang suddenly, and densely packed words appeared on the surface of the black clock. It was the essence of Hunyuan's tablet opening hand, completely natural. His palm is like a big axe weighing 100 jins, and it slashed down fiercely. Before the palm fell, there was already an axe mark on the ground, as if there was an invisible big axe cut through the ground. Jiangnan was surprised and delighted, turning his palm into a fist. His fist was like a sledgehammer, smashed out with one hammer. His fists hit the air, making a thumping sound, like beating a big drum. Powerful, too powerful. There was a heavy meal under his feet, and he saw countless fine gravel under his feet vibrating, cracking, and a grain of sand was shattered by his foot. The Demon Prison Suanta Sutra can actually spur Hunyuan to open the tablet hand, which is 5 or 6 times more powerful than the real Hunyuan tablet opener. I don't know that this mental method urges the 18th style of Jianjiu. What about the power? Jiangnan immediately changed his moves. Yu reading www.yuuganju.com slowed down, his hands were like pulling a big river, leading out from the valley, and on the surface of the black clock that the magic seed in his body turned into, patterns and dense text appeared again, which is the heart of Jianjiu Palangju. The law is extremely weird. This situation seems to be that this black clock has become the hub of Zhen Qi in Jiangnan's body, which can change the way that Zhen Qi operates and evolve other martial arts techniques. The river flows out of the deep valley. The sound of the crashing waves suddenly came from his hands, as if there was an invisible river being pulled out of the invisible deep valley by him. The waves were surging, the current surging, and the power was greatly improved. The bright moon hangs in the sky. He hugs the circle with both hands, like a bright moon between his palms, and his true energy gathers between his hands. A surging force jumps out from between his hands, and the strong wind slaps forward. Hit the Yangchuan River ahead. Yangchuan River is 7 or 8 feet wide, and on the opposite side is the mountain forest. With the force of Jiangnan's blow across the river, I saw a big tree on the other side trembling, and only some leaves fell from the branches. The breeze blows, the wood powder is flying all over the sky, and the tree of the big tree leaves a round hole in the body, piercing through the inside and outside. His move is so powerful that the moon hangs in the sky, and the force is very feminine. Puncture the big tree with dark energy, but it is not visible from the outside. Jiangnan unfolded the moves such as the river with the tide and the bright moon shines on the river in one breath. The power is so powerful that it exceeds his expectations, and is 2 or 3 times more powerful than the real Jianjiao wave-breaking art. The new book is uploaded. Recommendation votes and member clicks are urgently needed during the ranking period. Please take a few seconds to log into the starting point account, vote for a few recommendation votes, and click twice. Thank you here. Using the Demon Prison Profound Tire Sutra to urge Hunyuan to open the tablet hand can exert 5 or 6 times the power, but stimulating the more advanced martial arts such as Jianjiao Palang Ju can only increase its power by 2 or 3 times. Look. It's not unreasonable to come to Jianjiao's wave-breaking art to be more sophisticated than Hunyuan's to open a monument. Jiangnan secretly said in his heart. The reason for this situation is that Jianjiao Palang Ju is much higher than Hunyuan Kai Bei Shao, and the upper limit of the power that can be exerted by the same true qi is much higher than that of Hunyuan Kai Bei Shao, indicating that this mental technique is close to perfection. The space for improvement is limited, so the promotion of this technique by the Demon Prison Profound Born Sutra is not as terrifying as the Hunyuan Kai Bei Shao. Although Jianjiao breaking waves art was only increased by 2 or 3 times, its power still surpassed Hunyuan's monument opening hands by a lot. Shinayu plays a big light. Jiangnan used the Jianjiao wave breaking technique to the 5th style, and saw the true energy condensed on the head, falling on the center of the eyebrows, like a bright moon, with light shining. He can only do this step, and he is unable to continue the subsequent moves. Only by stepping into the 5th stage of body refining and opening up all the periosteum can he exert the power of Shinayu acting great light. In 1 month, it will take up to 1 month before I can refine my bones, enter the 5th realm, and break through the periosteum. Jiangnan's confidence has greatly increased, and he has crossed a large realm in a month. If this kind of cultivation speed is known by the people of the Qi Palace, it will definitely be scared to death. The fastest person in the history of the Qi Palace had to cultivate bones to become a master. It took 6 or 7 months to cultivate bones, and it was only with the help of Qi Palace's masters and the cultivation of miraculous medicines that they could cultivate to the realm of bone refining. And he practiced step by step, and it only takes 1 month to break through bone strengthening and enter the realm of periosteum. This kind of speed is absolutely against the sky. Good ability, good effort. Suddenly, an old laughter came from the woods next to him. Zhang Nan was startled, and after looking at the sound, he saw an old man wearing a mysterious robe slowly walking out of the woods. His heart sank. This old man in the mysterious robe is fat, and has a red face. He is one of the servants of the foreign mansion of the Qi Palace. He smiles and takes care of the servants of the foreign mansion. When Jiangnan fled to Qiwangchenj and sold himself to the palace, it was a contract signed by Wu Sijiang, so he was no stranger to him. Wu Sijiang is nicknamed the Smiling Tiger. Everyone he meets is a smiling face, but he has a tiger-like appetite and is insatiable. After more than a year in Jiangnan, he has seen his ability to smash bones and the marrow. Wu Sijiang not only deducted the wages of foreign servants, but often because those servants did a small mistake, he was viciously beaten and whipped by him. Over the past year, Jiangnan even saw 2 servants being beaten by him. Beat it alive! His martial arts attainments are also extremely advanced. Although the royal palace's advanced martial arts is forbidden to be spread out, in order to protect the family nursing home, he will still teach the servants some middle and low-level martial arts. Wu Sijiang is also very good. After decades of training, he has cultivated to the realm of refining qi, was therefore highly regarded by the palace and was selected as the steward of the foreign palace. It turned out to be Mr. Wu. Jiangnan smiled, like a big boy with no scheming and shining sunshine, and said, "Old Wu, why do you have time to wander around?" "Wandering? Hey, if you didn't hang around, the old man would not discover your secret." "Jiangnan Jiangzishuan, you are so brave, you dare to steal the most profound school of the palace," Jianjiahua breaking the waves. Wu Sijiang glanced around and found that there were no outsiders, only a white fox. He was determined, and he smiled. Stealing from the royal palace's advanced martial arts is already a capital crime, and stealing from the four masters of martial arts is a dead end. His eyes were greedy, and he looked like he was determined to eat Jiangnan. The Jianjiahua breaking waves art is the unparalleled school of the Qi Palace. How precious it is! He didn't expect that he would have the opportunity to get this mental technique. "Jiang Zishuan, you immediately kneel down to the old man, and obediently recite this mentality to the old man." Wu Sijiang's face trembled, and two fierce lights appeared in his small eyes, "But if you recite a word incorrectly, the old man will kill you on the spot." Jiangnan was startled slightly, and lost his voice. "Wu Sijiang, you also want to learn Jianjiahua breaking waves?" Wu Sijiang laughed, strode towards him, and grinned, "Nonsense! The four masters of the Qi Palace, after practicing, you will have the opportunity to reach the highest realm of martial arts, the realm of divine wheels, and even cultivate supernatural powers, if I become the pinnacle of martial arts. A master can be a prince, and one person has less than 10,000 people, and he still needs to be a small steward in the Qi Palace." He stepped forward in front of Jiangnan with a grim face and sneered, "Jiang Zishuan, you kneel down obediently, and memorize the Jianjiahua wave-breaking secret art to the old man. The old man will leave you a way out, otherwise you don't need to do anything. The old man can shoot you now." Jiangnan laughed dumbly and said sarcastically, "Old Wu, I will teach you the Jianjiahua wave-breaking technique, and I will still have a way of life? You won't kill people." Wu Sijiang was startled, and suddenly burst into laughter. "Well said, well said. Unexpectedly, you are not very old, but you can see things clearly, knowing that I will definitely not let you continue to live in the world. Zishuan, you are a man. A wise man, you should know that if you tell me the Jianjiahua wave-breaking art, you can die happily. If you don't say it, you will only suffer more." He had a stern face and sneered, "Don't want to resist. I just saw you make a move. It's just the realm of bone refining, but I have already penetrated the periosteum of my whole body, through the real qi, and cultivated to the realm of refining qi. I have experienced hundreds of times. Fight, but you are just a little boy who has just learned martial arts for a few days. There are two realms between you and me. It can be said that there is no resistance. Kneel me down." Wu Sijiang suddenly yelled, and the sound was like thunder. He turned his palm up, his palm was blood red, and fell towards the south of the Yangtze River. It was impressively using his fame stunt to transform blood. This is an extremely insidious and domineering martial arts school. Zhang Nan once saw Wu Sijiang perform this blood-resolving magic, with the palm printed on the head of a servant who made a small mistake, turning that servant's head and bones into a pool of blood. The moon shines on the river. Zhang Nan turned a blind eye to Gai Luo's blood-transmitting magic, and did not dodge or dodge. Instead, he moved his body and took one step, suddenly urging the demon prison profound fetus sutra and Jianjiahua breaking waves art. The true energy rose like a bright moon from his hands, gushing out from time to time. He knew that he had never experienced a battle, and had zero experience. Although he had such a fascinating knowledge as Jianjiahua breaking wave art, his use of moves was far less than that of martial arts masters like Wu Sijiang, who had been fighting for a long time. Head to head, fight fiercely, so that there will be a trace of vitality and chance of winning. Wu Sijiang's blood-dissolving magical skill covered Zhang Nan's head severely, and beat him into a drowsy head. At the same time, Wu Sijiang's fat body flashed with great agility, like a spirit fox, so light and savvy, it easily escaped Jiangnan. This trick shined brightly on the river. He smiled. Zhang Zishuan, you are still too tender. Do you think martial arts is as simple as going straight? The old man has walked more bridges than you have walked, and it is impossible to kill you. A lot of effort. Although he is fat, he has a light and agile pace, coming and going like the wind. He turned out to use the Civet 13 pounds techniques, so that Jiang Nankong has advanced martial arts such as Jianjiao breaking the waves, but he has little room for display. Wu Sijiang patted the second palm, grinning and said, but don't worry, I will not kill you, but will slowly maim you, turn your limbs into blood but still not let you die, slowly concoct you, let you obediently spit out Jianjiao wave-breaking art. Jiangnan's mouth was bleeding, but his heart was extremely calm. The palm of Wu Sijiang just now caused him to suffer a lot of trauma and his head became dizzy, but the more he was like this, the more calm he became. He has been fleeing for thousands of miles, after being chased by monsters, and crawling out of the dead, he has long been able to make the sky fall without fear, and his heart is as tough as a waterfall hitting a rock. Wu Sijiang's second attack came, his palms trembling, and he didn't know how many palms were shot in an instant. Suddenly there were palm shadows all over the sky, making Zhang Nan's eyes red, as if he could almost bleed. The blood transformation magical technique is not the fascinating knowledge of Jianjiao Palangju, but its moves are ever-changing, and it does have its strengths. Jiangnan couldn't tell the truth of Wu Sijiang's move for a while, suddenly shouted, turning a blind eye to Wu Sijiang's changes in moves, and continued to make a move to shine the bright moon on the river, and fight Wu Sijiang hidden. Rookie! Wu Sijiang laughed. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com again flashed like a civet cat, trying to avoid Jiangnan's blow, but at this moment, Jiangnan suddenly flashed like a civet, exactly the same as Wu Sijiang's steps. Surprisingly, it is also the civet cat 13 flutter. Wu Sijiang was horrified, and his figure was shaking again and again, but Zhang Nan's body was also shaking again and again, so that he could no longer escape the trick of Minjiu Zhao Dejiang. Wu Sijiang was shocked and angry. Boy, I didn't expect you to be proficient in Civet 13 pounding. But the old man is stronger than you, even if you fight hard, you can't beat me. He didn't know that Zhang Nan had never learned martial arts such as the Civet 13 flutter. He just watched him use the Civet 13 flutter, and the black magic clock in his body could not help but reveal the path of the Civet 13 flutter. Unknowingly, he used this body technique. This is the magical effect of the mysterious birth sutra of the demon prison. The starting point of this demon mental method is too high. As long as any martial arts does not jump out of its martial arts category, all martial arts can be deduced by this mental method, and it can also be deduced by the demon. The infuriating chi of the prison profound fetus sutra urges and exerts a stronger and greater power. The martial art of Limao 13 throws also failed to break out of the category of the demon prison Suanta Sutra. Jiangnan only watched 1 or 2 moves, and Zhenkai could simulate the operation of this martial arts, even better than the real Limao 10. 3 Flutter is more agile and smart. The two finally fought hard. Zhang Nan once again performed a blood-melting magic. His face flushed, his throat was sweet, and a mouthful of blood came up. At the same time, Wu Sijiang couldn't help but snorted, only to feel that the strength between Zhang Nan's hands had just begun to be extremely soft and penetrated into his chest. Suddenly, he burst out with extremely fierce power, and his face was flushed with shock. The liver and internal organs were shaken, almost cracking. Why is he so strong? Wu Sijiang was frightened and furious. Jiangnan's true energy exceeded his expectations, and was 4 or 5 times stronger than those of the same level of cultivation. Even if he was a child of the Qi family who practiced the same Jianjiao Palangju, he was in the same realm. At that time, his true spirit was far less powerful than him. It can be said that Jiangnan's true Qi is almost comparable to a master such as Wu Sijiang. This is the first time Jiangnan has fought against someone. If he has been fighting for a long time and has such a strong control over Zhen Qi as Wu Sijiang, his move can definitely damage Wu Sijiang. The river is born with the tide. The bright moon in the south of the Yangtze River has just been implemented, and the true Qi suddenly changed, turning into a big river with the tide. The true Qi is like the big waves of the Yangtze River, wave after wave after wave, surging and surging. Wu Sijiang's body surged, and his internal organs were severely injured in an instant. Wu Sijiang also couldn't help but vomited blood, horrified in his heart, and hurriedly attacked with a blood-melting magical skill, patted 7 palms in one breath, and all the 7 palms were printed on Jiangnan's chest, and the young man was slapped flying out several feet. He vomited blood from Jiangnan's mouth, and the person was in the air. His body suddenly stood up, like a nail falling from the air, firmly rooted on the ground, then his body flashed, like a civet cat, wandering and attacking, and rushed back in the blink of an eye. In front of Wu Sijiang, the gestures of both hands suddenly changed, and he abandoned Jianjiao Palangju and other such martial arts, instead used the martial arts such as Hunyuan Kai Bei Shao. He has one hand like an axe, and the other hand is like a hammer. The axe smashes with a hammer. He is brave and brave. He treats Wu Sijiang as a monument, splitting and smashing. Wu Sijiang was very furious. Not long ago, he still had the upper hand, crushing Jiangnan like a cat playing with a mouse, but within a short period of time, the offensive and defensive momentum was reversed. Jiangnan actually occupied all the offensive. He pressed and beat. This kid fights desperately, he is a lunatic. Facing Jiangnan's endless offensive, he felt a little scared in his heart. He, a veteran who fought in the end, would be afraid of Jiangnan, a fledgling rookie, even he did not want to believe this situation. Speaking of it, Jiangnan Lianzhong has more than 10 palms of his blood magic skill, and his injuries are even more serious. The injury is controlled by real pressure. It is reasonable to say that Jiangnan should be afraid, but now the situation is reversed. Wu Sijiang, you plan to kill me and kill your mouth after getting the Jianjiao wave-breaking technique, but you don't know that I also plan to kill you. Jiangnan sneered, not like a 14-15-year-old boy. He was terribly calm. He opened and closed his hands and slashed his palms. He even split Wu Sijiang's blood-handed defense with one palm, breaking his defenses cleanly. Net. Wu Sijiang's fat body swayed and drew back like a civet cat. With a light touch of his toe, he backed away for more than 10 years, and swiftly moved towards the Qi palace, sternly, Zhang Zishuan, you are dead, the old man will go back and report to the inner palace, you stealing. Before his words fell, Zhang Nan had already rushed, like a shadow, less than 3 feet away from him, punched like a hammer, hit his chest, only heard the sound of cracking bones, Wu Sijiang screamed, and his body flew high. Up, fall backward. At the same time, Zhang Nan also jumped up, still following Wu Sijiang, his palm was like an axe, and his palm was like a knife, and his palm was like a knife. Before the palm fell, the strong wind cut Wu Sijiang's clothes and left his white skin. The next blood stain. The palm of Jiangnan finally fell, as if a big axe slashed on Wu Sijiang's shoulder, cutting off his entire arm, and then turning one side of the move into a Jianjiao wave-breaking technique. The bright moon hangs in the sky. Jiangnan burst out, slapped out his infuriating energy like a bright moon flying in the sky, slapping Wu Sijiang in the air with a palm of his hand. The power contained in this palm exploded, and instantly crushed his bones and internal organs. Wu Sijiang's corpse fell into the Yangchuan River with a patter, was swallowed up by the water, and disappeared. Jiangnan landed, he staggered under his feet, his footing was unstable, and blood was gushing from the corner of his mouth, he quickly took a long breath, urging Zhen Qi to suppress the injury. After a while, he finally suppressed the injury, and then he was relieved, only to feel that the wound on his body was still hot and painful. It's very risky. If it weren't for the magic of the magic prison, I would not be Wu Sijiang's opponent at all. He secretly said, a fluke. The blood-transmitting magic is indeed overbearing. If he hadn't practiced the demon prison profound fetus sutra, the quality of Zhen Qi far surpassed the blood-transforming magic. I was afraid that Wu Sijiang would abolish his cultivation as soon as he did it. He was accustomed to seeing life and death on the way to escape. Although he shot Wu Sijiang with his own hands, he still didn't have much psychological burden in his heart. Zhang Shui came silently, stood beside him quietly, and said lightly, "Zishuan, how does this battle feel?" Just now, she was just watching the battle. Even if Zhang Nan was in danger, she never helped. Zhang Nan thought for a moment, reviewed his fighting energy, and immediately discovered all the mistakes he had made in this battle, showing a shame. My actual combat experience is too little, so that when I started I fall into passive. If my actual combat experience is the same as Wu Sijiang's. Rich, you don't need to be injured at all, and you don't need to fight for so long, you can tell the winner with just a few moves. Zhang Shui nodded and smiled. Besides, you still lack the martial arts aspirations. Jiangnan was stunned. His mind was extremely tough. Why did Zhang Shui say that he lacked the mind of martial arts? Zishuan, the mind of Budo is not only a tough heart, but a belief. Zhang Shui's foxtail shook and whispered, "This belief is that you can solve problems with your fists, never waste your tongue, and you will not be able to solve the problem for a lifetime by reasoning with the other party. Since you know that you can't give up, just fight it until you fight. Until the other party dies, don't give him any chance." Jiangnan had a black line on his face. It was the first time he realized that his sister was so violent. But Sister Zhang Shui did not make a mistake. Wu Sijiang made it clear that he was going to kill me. Talking with him is indeed a waste of saliva. It's better not to talk nonsense with him and just punch to death. Jiangnan suddenly discovered that his thinking was slowly changing. He was seriously affected by this cheap sister and became increasingly violent. In other words, he originally had a tendency to advocate violence, but was suppressed by traditional moral concepts, and Zhang Shui was only helping him release this violent tendency. "Sister, what if I can't beat my opponent?" Zhang Nan suddenly thought of a key point and quickly asked. Zhang Shui's eyes are like a crescent moon, and he is obviously smiling, looking very sly. "If you can't beat the opponent, then it is a problem that cannot be solved by your fist. Naturally, you have to reason with the other party." The vixen. Jiangnan was completely speechless. My sister is definitely a vixen. But what she said is not bad. Only the weak will try to make sense, and the strong will only punch them. "Sister, I killed Wu Sijiang, Prince Qi can't stay anymore, so let's run away immediately while the Prince Qi hasn't found it." He suddenly thought of another key point and hurriedly said. "Who said you killed Wu Sijiang? You are just a poor scholar, how could you kill a master like Wu Sijiang?" Zhang Shui's eyes turned into crescent moons, and smiled. "Zishuan, you are still weak. If you escape, Prince Qi Mansion will know that Wu Sijiang is dead in your hands. Where can you escape? Can you escape the pursuit of the masters of Prince Qi Mansion?" Jiangnan frowned slightly. Zhang Shui was indeed reasonable, but he was still a little worried. Wu Sijiang's magical technique for transforming blood is also a good technique. I don't know if the demon prison Suanta Sutra can put this technique into practice. He moved slightly in his heart, closed his eyes and concentrated, and the path of the blood-transmitting magic gradually appeared above the black magic clock. After a while, Zhang Nan's eyes flashed, blood sank, sinking into his palms, and his hands immediately became blood-red. Blood hand seen. His palm flew up, and he sent out dozens of palms in an instant, and the palms were connected, turning into a big curtain of iron and blood in a radius of several feet, exuding a strong atmosphere. This is the strongest form of the transforming blood god art, and it is now repeated in his hands. If Wu Sijiang is still alive, he will definitely jump up in shock, because Jiangnan Envoy's hand scene is more subtle, weird, and domineering than his original version. Yes, the transforming blood divine art is also a good technique. It is not inferior to Hunyuan's monumental hand. It is estimated that Wu Sijiang has the merits of Qi Wangfu. This is how he rewarded this technique, which is bad. Jiangnan raised his head to look at the sky, his face changed slightly, he hurriedly turned around, picked up the fox demon, turned and left. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com is now near noon, and it has already delayed the time to go to the Qi Palace. Moreover, I was only concerned about cultivation, and when I met Wu Sijiang, I forgot to eat breakfast and prepare lunch. Now I suddenly remembered it, I couldn't help but feel hungry. Wu Sijiang is not the only one in charge of the foreign government. I did not go to work in the morning. I am afraid that those who are in charge will have to make irresponsible remarks and deduct my wages. He hurriedly returned to the slum, settled Zhang Shui, and was about to go to the inner palace of the Prince of Qi. Suddenly he heard a loud voice coming from the outside, yelling, "Zishuan, are you still alive?" The door creaked open, Taizhu's big head poked out from the crack of the door, and looked around. When he saw Jiangnan, he breathed a sigh of relief and smiled, "Brother, I saw that you didn't go to the palace to work this morning. I thought you had already." He was poisoned, and was eaten by foxes or other monsters. He chuckled, opened the door and walked in, carrying a bamboo basket in his hand, with the fragrant scent of food coming from it, and smiled, "I originally said that I would come here earlier to collect your body, but my old lady said I was talking nonsense. Shit, saying that you are suffering, most of you are hungry and faint, and have no energy to do things, so let me bring you some food. I didn't eat lunch, so I just brought more. By the way, the fox you raised what? Hey? Who is this girl?" Taizhu's gaze suddenly froze, and he looked at Zhang Nan's side, feeling a little at a loss. Zhang Nan's heart was tense and he turned to look hurriedly, only to see that Zhang Shui had changed from a fox demon to adulthood, and Kaya Shengshen stood beside him. He couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, and said with a smile, "Pillar, this is my sister Zhang Shui. She was separated and met again yesterday, so she didn't go to work in the Qi Palace." The new book is uploaded. During the ranking, book friends who beg to read to collect and recommend Emperor Zun, thank you. When Zhang Shui bowed to Taizhu made a blushing face, still feeling a little lost and not knowing what to do. Zhang Nan took the bamboo basket from him, took out the food and put it on the stone table, and said with a smile, "Sister, you also come to eat together." Zhang Shui nodded, and sat down at the stone table. Zhang Nan took another pair of bowls and chopsticks and asked Taizhu to sit down. Zhang Shui has a light taste, just eat a few bites of vegetarian dishes and rice, then put down the tableware and chopsticks. Zhang Nan and Taizhu were big stomach kings, and the two swept away the rest of the meal. Jiangxiu cleaned up the dishes and chopsticks to wash. Taizhu felt relieved, and curiously said, "Zishuan, your sister is so beautiful, even more handsome than the princess. By the way, is your sister married? What you up to?" Jiangnan became vigilant, coughed, and whispered, "Zuzi, that's my cousin, but not my sister. We have already said a baby kiss when we were young. They are brothers and sisters in name, but they are actually husband and wife." "Smelly boy, rabbits don't eat grass on the edge of the nest, your kid eats grass on the edge of the nest." Taizhu murmured and smiled, "I am relieved to see that you are fine. It is a shame that you didn't go to the Qi Palace today." In the morning, Qi Wang personally went to the martial arts field to inspect, and even left the field personally. Fists and kicks, obediently, really amazing. King Qi personally pointed out the children of the palace. Jiangnan couldn't help being very envious. King Qi was a martial arts expert in the realm of Shenlun. His cultivation base was extremely tyrannical. It was a pity that he could not see such a person take action. However, compared to watching King Qi practicing martial arts, he still feels that he has gained a lot more. What happened this morning is enough to change his life and make him use it for the rest of his life. What else is more dreamy than what happened to him last night? Could it be more thrilling than his experience last night? The King of Qi used a set of unique skills, which is the Dragon and Tiger Elephant power formula among the 4 unique skills of the palace. As soon as Tai Zhu talked about martial arts, he was excited, and said with a smile, "I was hiding in the dark to watch and learn 2 tricks, which is really amazing. There are 3 key points in the Dragon and Tiger Elephant forces. When a sleepy tiger is released from prison, the godlike camel mountain must not only have its shape, but also its god. The godlike shape is the best martial arts." These words are obviously not what Tai Zhu can say, but he repeats the original words of King Qi. Jiangnan also heard the servants of the Prince of Qi talk about this genius. It is said that the Dragon Tiger Elephant Force Ju is the first generation of King Qi. He has encountered real dragons, idols, and tiger demon who can open the mountains. It was only after he escaped from the dead created this mentality. Dragon Tiger Elephant Li Ju was praised by the founding emperor. Su used the most domineering mental method in the world, and even because of this mental method, when the founding of martial arts evaluated martial artists, the level of martial artists was divided by tiger power, elephant power, and dragon power. Tiger strength is 1,000 catties, and the bow of 8 stones can be opened. The elephant strength is 10,000 catties, and the dragon power is 100,000 catties. Ordinary bone-refining warriors already possess the power of a tiger. After they have cultivated to refining qi, they can have the power of an elephant, and they have reached the incredible power of a dragon after they have cultivated into the outer gangway. I am now cultivating to the realm of bone refining, and I can lift 2,000 catties of boulders, and at most have the power of 2 tigers. Jiang Nan thought secretly. Tai Zhu started talking, took Jiangnan and walked out of the city quickly, to the secluded mountain forest, suddenly jumped into the spacious place, the iron horse and hard bridge, and used the dragon and tiger elephant strength techniques he had secretly learned. What he learned is paradoxical: many moves only have scales and claws, half of them are unsustainable, and the subtleties of the moves are not revealed. Moreover, there is no true energy in his fists and feet, but pure strength, and he cannot use the power of his moves. Even so, being able to take a peek and jot down so much is already quite remarkable. It can be said to have good aptitude and understanding. The degree of sophistication of these moves is definitely not as good as the Jianjiao wave-breaking technique, but it gives people an extremely atmospheric feeling, as if they have the power of a dragon and a tiger. What? Jiangnan whispered. These intermittent moves made the Genkai in his body resonate, and he was about to move with Tai Zhu's movements. In his eyes, it was no longer Tai Zhu's tricks and moves, but he seemed to really see giant beasts such as dragons, tigers, and elephants fighting each other. Those subtle changes that Tai Zhu hadn't learned, naturally appeared in his mind, as if he had already mastered the dragon and tiger elephant force art in his chest. Tai Zhu only learned a few formulas, and it was incomplete, and he didn't get the mental technique of the dragon and tiger Xiang Li Ju. But at this moment, the magic clock in Jiangnan's body was constantly oscillating and ringing, and all kinds of peculiar patterns appeared on the surface of the magic clock: dragons and tigers leaping, and Vientian galloping. The true energy of the demon prison Suanta Sutra in his body wanders in a strange way, urging the increasing power in his body, allowing him to grasp the essence of the dragon and tiger elephant force art very clearly. Dragon walks ever-changing. The sleepy tiger is out of prison. Idle camel mountain. All the changes in the dragon and tiger Xiang Li Ju are derived from these 12 characters. Jiangnan Yu is trying to figure out the charm of these 12 characters, and the understanding of the Long and tiger Xiang Li Ju has become more and more profound, and it can even be restored. Long Huxiang Li Ju's moves can also be deduced from the mind. This is the function of the demon prison Suanta Sutra. The starting point of this exercise is too high. Although Jiangnan has only practiced for a few hours, his vision is no longer what it used to be. He is equivalent to lying on the shoulders of giants. Although lying on his stomach, he can also look down on ordinary people at the feet of giants. Although the dragon and tiger Xiang Li Ju is better than the blood magic art, it is unknown how many minds, but in front of the demon prison Xian Fei Sutra, even the long and tiger Xiang Li Ju is just a plain and ordinary martial arts, and it cannot surpass the demon prison. The category of Suanta. This kind of unearthly mystery will naturally be deduced by his demon infernal sutra, appearing on the surface of the magic clock, supporting the movement of infuriating energy. Zishuan, the dragon tiger-like force tactic is in the hands of King Qi, and its power is many times greater than in my hands. There is even a tiger-like dragon-like shape. With a punch, the dragon roars and roars. Taizhu closed his power and said with a smile, "Listen to King Qi, if you practice this magical skill to transcend martial arts and become a realm of supernatural powers, you will have the power of dragons and tigers, and the power of 1 dragon and 10 elephants, no one can match." Jiangnan didn't make a sound, he was still silent in the mystery of deducing the dragon and tiger elephant force tactics. He controlled every precise change of every move and style of the dragon and tiger elephant force tactics. This feeling is really amazing. He used to try to deduce the 4th layer of mind from the first 3 layers of Jianjiao Palangju, but now he only looks at some fragments of the moves to perform the whole set of mind methods, which is undoubtedly more difficult than before. It has been countless times, but he feels extremely relaxed and happy. This is the vision that Sister Zhang Shui said. Zhang Nan's heart was overwhelmed, and he secretly said, "I practice the profound baby sutra of the demon prison, which is equivalent to standing at the perspective of the profound baby sutra of the demon prison and looking down at the dragon and tiger elephant force Ju. Naturally, it is clear at a glance." No wonder Zhang Shui said that she used the Jianjiao breaking wave Ju. Deduction to the 18th floor is not based on ingenuity, but on vision. Due to the limitation of cultivation level, he can only push the dragon and tiger elephants into the first 5 levels of mind, but there is no bottom line in his mind about the difference and gap between this kind of mind and the real dragon and tiger elephants. Pillar, well, a set of exercises passed down from my ancestors is very similar to the dragon tiger elephant force Ju, look. On a whim, Jiangnan stepped into the spacious place, his true energy revolved, and his figure moved, a wild aura erupted from his body, like a fierce and ferocious dragon rushing out of the abyss, frightening Taizhu. Jump, never expected that Jiangnan's small body would burst out with such a brutal aura. The dragon is out of the abyss. Jiangnan's hands and feet move in unison, skin, flesh, muscles, and bones are incomparably coordinated. The body is like a dragon, and the true energy is emitted between the hands and feet, stimulating the powerful potential in the body. Suddenly, a dragon chants from his chest, low and melodious, although his voice is low. But the shock made Taizhu qi and blood toss, and his chest was like a large stone, which could almost squeeze him into bleeding. The tiger is out of prison. Zhang Nan's body suddenly leaped forward, his palms shot out, and he staggered and cut his hands. Infuriating energy rubbed between his hands. A tiger roar came from between his hands. The sound was deafening, as if he was imprisoned in a cage. Tiger, hungry for 4 or 5 days, got out of the cage when he was most aggressive, and would eat people as soon as he came out. The gods step on the mountain. Zhang Nan created the 3rd form of the dragon tiger elephant force technique. The idols used their steps on the mountain and moved for 13 steps. Every step down, he stepped on a bluestone slab with a radius of 2 or 3 feet. Broke in. Boom. Boom. With his footsteps, the gravel was shaken to float in the air, the feet high, and then shattered by the violent force. At the same time, his arms were like elephant trunks, continuously pumping forward, making the air pop. Loud, strong, and domineering, with 13 hits in a row. I have to say that the Dragon Tiger Elephant Force art is indeed an extremely powerful move. Its pure attack power is still above the Jianjiao wave-breaking art. It is only slightly inferior in the subtlety of the move, but its attack power is so fierce. It's only seen in Jiangnan's life. The Dragon Tiger Elephant Force tactic he himself promoted has fully evolved the characteristics of fierce and domineering, with offensive and undefended, and indomitable, bringing the cruelty of the dragon, the ferocity of the tiger, and the supernatural power of the giant elephant into 3 points. In the blink of an eye, he unfolded the other 2 tricks of the dragon, tiger, and elephant forces. The 4th type of dragon and snake rising from the land is a kind of body method. The dragon travels across the river, with serpentine thorns, walking without a trace, making it impossible to grasp him. Position of footing. The 5th type of tiger entering the flock is purely a killing move. The hungry tiger eats the sheep, and a fatal blow. He only performed 5 moves. Like the Jianjiao Palang Ju, it corresponds to the 5-fold realm of martial arts. The 5th style of tiger entering the flock is because Jiangnan has not opened up the periosteum and has no invigorating force, so there is not much power. Once the 5 moves are over, Jiangnan will come to an end. Reading www. There was a slight blast from the bones in Yukansha.com's body, crackling, and a wave of violent power swept every corner of his body, causing the power in his body to continue to rise. The Dragon and Tiger Elephant Force Ju is indeed extremely magical, which greatly increased the strength in his body. The Demon Prison Profound Birth Sutra lacks the applied method, but the Dragon and Tiger Elephant Force Ju has developed a part of the potential of this magic door supreme mental method, allowing him the body functions, skin, muscles, and bones have been greatly improved. I originally only had the power of 2 tigers, but now it has definitely increased by half. Jiangnan's true qi slowly calmed down, only to feel that the strength in his body was greatly increasing, and he was surprised and happy in his heart, and said with a smile, Zhu Zi, my set of exercises, compared with the Qi Palace's dragon and tiger elephant forces, which one is higher under? Tai Zhu was already shocked and stunned. After a while, he came back to his senses, gave a thumbs up, and smiled, Zishuan, this is your ancestral practice? It's amazing, it's amazing. I didn't expect you to hide deeply, unexpectedly. There is also a good skill. Jiangnan's face blushed. His ancestor was a scholarly family. He had a prejudice and contempt for martial arts. He thought it was the work of a brash man. Where is there any magical skills passed down? Zishuan, this Zhang family's exercise is different from the Qi Wangfu's dragon, tiger, elephant, and power tactics. The momentum is also inferior, but it is also extremely remarkable. Tai Zhu was full of admiration, showing admiration, and said with a smile, unexpectedly, your Zhang family is also a martial arts family. Although it is inferior to the real dragon and tiger elephant powers, it can be called a first-class skill. Isn't it as good as the real dragon, tiger, and elephant force? Zhang Nan frowned slightly, and then he was relieved. He was just improvising the dragon-tiger-like strength technique. He only evolved from Tai Zhu's residual moves. He didn't see the powers like King Qi rehearse with his own eyes. He couldn't control the dragon and tiger elephants. It is forgivable that Li Ju's deduction is perfect. Sister Zhang Shui doesn't know the mentality of Jianjiao Palang Ju. Just by watching the 4 moves I practiced, she can perform the 18 strokes of Jianjiao Palang Ju. The 18-centered method is even better than the real Jianjiao Palang Ju. Perfect, it's really better than me. The more Zhang Nan learns about Zhang Shui, the more he feels that she is unfathomable. He smiled to Tai Zhu and said, Zhu Zi, are you interested in learning my Zhang family's dragon and tiger power formula? Tai Zhu heard this, was surprised and delighted, and a little hesitated, Zishuan, this is not good, after all, it is your Zhang family's unique knowledge. Jiangnan smiled and said, my Zhang family has fallen, I am the only one left, and there are no family rules that are not allowed to be passed on. Now I am the head of the Zhang family. Who is it that I have passed on? Taizhu's family treated him very well, and they took care of him when Jiangnan was down. Especially Taizhu's old lady was blind, but her heart was very good. They often let Taizhu take Jiangnan. This kind of affection Jiangnan has always been remembered in his heart. Does your cousin gossiping? Taizhu hesitated and said. It's a fiancé. Jiangnan bit the correct words and smiled. My cousin is also from my Zhang family. I am the head of the family. If I want to tell you, she can still object to it. Isn't it afraid that I will give her up? Although the Dragon Tiger Elephant Force art he created is based on the true energy of the Demon Prison Suanta Sutra, the path of true energy movement is a brand new technique. Jiangnan only needs to sort out the path of movement, it is a kind of the brand new Dragon Tiger-like strength formula. Jiangnan taught this technique to Taizhu along with the moves he created. Taizhu was born with different qualities, tall and majestic, with a physique far superior to ordinary people, and a natural supernatural power. Although he did not develop true energy, he was dragon and tiger. As soon as Xiangliju got started, his power was extremely impressive, as if he was tailor-made for him. Sooner or later it would be a matter of refining true energy. It is conceivable that if he cultivates to the realm of Jiangnan, the Dragon Tiger Elephant Force Ju will definitely shine in his hands, and it may not be inferior to Jiangnan. Although Taizhu's aptitude and comprehension were not bad, until the sun went down, he failed to learn all the strengths of the dragon and tiger and only learned the first move in mind. Zishuan, it's useless to learn more, this trick has been enough for me to think about it for a while, and I will ask you about the other tricks after I practice this trick someday. Taizhu was excited, turned and left, and said with a smile, I have done your job in Prince Qi Palace today. Don't forget to order it tomorrow, otherwise those stewards will have to gossip and detain you. Wages. Jiangnan also felt active. He was hungry again, and returned to the slum. Just after entering the room, the smell of food suddenly came. Zhang Shui seemed to know that he would be hungry, and a table of food had been prepared, waiting for him to eat. Sister, you are really good at cooking. Zhang Nan was overjoyed, and only felt a warm current in his heart, warming in his chest. I am your fiancé, and I am a baby kiss since childhood. Zhang Shui smiled but didn't smile, and said, if I'm not virtuous, aren't you afraid that you will divorce me? Zhang Nan's face flushed red. This fox demon did have some magical powers, and he could hear his conversation with Taizhu. He whispered and said, Sister, you heard all of them just now? I actually just wanted Zhu Ziyi to retreat, lest he retreat. Don't be angry. How can I be angry? Zhang Shui's beautiful eyes blinked and smiled, people are your baby relatives. If you are angry, you will divorce me, where will a little girl stay? Jiangnan immediately changed the subject and said with a smile, Sister, you have cooked so many dishes, how can the two of us finish eating? Eat, eat. Zhang Shui pursed his lips and smiled, eat more, because you have something to do later, which will consume a lot of physical energy. Zhang Nan was surprised, and Zhang Shui smiled and said, you are now practicing the profound fetus sutra of the demon prison. You have very strong blood and strong yang. Although ordinary people can't see it, you can only tell the monsters and spirits near Loxia Mountain. Like a torch in the dark, it is very eye-catching. Jiangnan could not help but feel a bad feeling when he heard this, and tentatively said, what then? Zhang Shui chuckled and said softly, then, when you leave the city to the foot of Loxia Mountain, the monsters and spirits in the mountain will naturally come to eat people. Now you are like a piece of fragrant tang monk meat. Just eat you and refine by transforming your yang qi and blood, the monster's cultivation base will naturally increase, which is enough to overcome years of hard cultivation. Jiangnan's face turned dark, Sister, you said you were not angry just now. The demon prison sutra of your own choice, I didn't force you. Those monsters and fairies want to eat you, and I didn't deliberately provoke them. These have nothing to do with me. Why am I angry? Zhang Shui pursed her mouth and said with a serious face, Zishuan, you have fought with Wu Sijiang, and you already know that you lack combat experience. Now I will give you this opportunity. Actual combat is the best way to temper, you want to become a master and a strong one. You need actual combat, the baptism of blood. Jiangnan solemnly nodded and said, I understand. Monsters and fairies, with natural fighting skills, are most suitable for rookies like you. Zhang Suifeng said lightly, if you can survive the fight with monsters, you will completely become a martial artist, and you will no longer be a layman or a rookie. Sister, if I were in danger in the mountains and forests, would you save me? Zhang Nan suddenly thought of the key point and asked. Meeting. Zhang Shui said lightly, I still need your yang energy to repair the soul. If you can't support it, I will save you, but I don't need a useless brother. What she meant was that if Zhang Nan couldn't sustain it, although she would save her, but she didn't recognize Zhang Nan's younger brother, and only used him as a tool for absorbing yang qi, and there was no more friendship. Jiangnan took a long breath, his face was slightly tender, and resolutely said, Sister, even if I am in danger, I don't need you to act. I will carry this level alone. Zhang Shui showed appreciation in his eyes, and smiled, Zishuan, your battle with Wu Sijiang is not a battle at all, you are just working hard. Later, it will be your first battle in the martial arts. Her eyes were blurred, and she whispered, Don't let my sister down. Jiangnan ate and drank enough, looked up at the sun, and saw the setting sun hanging in the sky. It was still early to sunset, and immediately strode out of the city, along the Yangchuan River towards Loxia Mountain. The snow on the river turns into a white fox, like a shadow. The mountains and forests are covered with dead leaves. One person and one fox step on it and rustle, and the water is gurgling next to it. Yangchuan River comes from Loxia Mountain. It is rarely visited by tourists. It didn't take long for Jiangnan to come into the mountains. There was a deserted stone bridge in front of him. On the opposite side of the bridge was a mountain temple that had long been ruined. Deep in the mountains and old forests, there was a screaming roar suddenly, one after another, and the wind was blowing in the mountains and forests in a short time, and the wind blew out from the mountains and forests, and howled toward the stone bridge. Jiangnan only felt the strong wind rushing toward his face, and the streamer he tied his head was blue hunting, and there was a strong smell of fishy smell in the wind. A monster found me. He stood by the stone bridge, staring at the opposite side of the stone bridge. His palms were a little damp, but he was sweating unknowingly. The first battle in the martial arts. Zhang Nan couldn't help feeling a little excited, lowered his head and looked at his hands, muttered. Who? The sound of heavy breathing came from the forest. Zhang Nan's heart tightened, and a huge shadow came out of the mountain temple in the forest, step by step towards the stone bridge over the Yangchuan River. This is a black bear, standing up to a height of more than 10,000 meters, extremely majestic, holding a saber from unknown source in his hand. The blade is ragged. In winter, bears have already hibernated, and only monsters who know how to cultivate will still be active. This bear is obviously one of them, living in the ruined mountain temple, and seeing the strong yang qi on Jiangnan, he immediately came out to eat people. The black bear has blood-red eyes, and there is a wispy demon over his body, which is intriguing. It is the first time Zhang Nan has seen such a tall black bear. It should be a different species in Loxia Mountain. He has cultivated into a monster, and even knows how to use weapons. It stepped out of the forest and walked to the stone bridge. When it fell, the stone bridge trembled. This is a terrifying monster with infinite power. Seeing Jiangnan on the opposite side of the bridge, there was a low muffled roar in his throat. He stepped abruptly and rushed towards Jiangnan with his slashing saber mopping the ground, and a series of bursts appeared. Spark! When the black bear was 3 feet away from the south of the Yangtze River, the black bear was faster, and the saber-cutting knife suddenly dragged up. With a sneer, a white light flashed in the night sky, slashing towards the south of the Yangtze. So fast! Jiangnan only felt the white light flashed, and the saber knife had come to the front, and he couldn't tolerate him to avoid it. The black bear's knife was like a great calligrapher splashing ink. There was no extra pen and ink. It was simple and straightforward. It was a life and death with a single stroke. This kind of simple and direct move is more terrifying and more domineering than some blood-melting magic. The river is born with the tide. Suddenly the sound of the waves rises sharply, like a turbulent wave cracking the bank, the Yangtze River is smashing, the Jiangnan Zhenkai is surging, and the power of the three tigers erupts, urging the Jianjiao wave-breaking art to the extreme, and the palms of the palms roll up the sound of the waves. The demon bear slashed the saber and slapped it. Even Chao Sheng couldn't stop the bear demon's sword. The saber slashed for a while, and then the sword cut through the stormy waves, and cut straight to the south of the Yangtze River. Zhang Nan's mind was clear, nothing to think, only a raging warfare in his heart. He still tried his best to urge Dejiang's Tide students to overcome the rigidity with softness, and the water is soft, and his innocence is as soft as water, washing away the demon bear's sturdiness said. In the sound of the waves slamming, the tattered saber knife suddenly shattered, but this weapon could not withstand the impact of the forces of Jiangnan and the bear demon, and was shattered on the spot. Dragon and tiger power. Jiangnan smashed the saber to pieces with one move, and finally got rid of the fate of being killed by the bear demon with one move, and immediately moved forward without retreating and rushed towards the bear demon. He dropped his foot and shook the earth. It was even more shocking than when the black bear came out. Hearing his footsteps without looking at Zhang Nan's figure, he would definitely think that it was a galloping giant elephant instead of just 10 years old. 4 human scholars. The god's step on the mountain. The fall of Zhang Nan's foot stimulated the huge power of the dragon tiger elephant force art. The small body contained a huge power unimaginable by ordinary people. He rushed to the front of the bear demon in one step, raised his palm, and moved forward fiercely. Take it away. His arm was like an elephant trunk, with the palm out, and with a snap, he soaked up the black bear that weighed more than 1,000 kilograms, flew into the air, fell 4 or 5 feet away, fell to the other side of the stone bridge, and slammed a big tree. It broke with a crash on the spot. The big tree fell, the dust was everywhere, the bear demon roared, turned over and jumped up, startled and angry. Jiangnan fell for the second time. This step took a bigger step. He jumped directly out of the bridge, stepped over to the bear demon in one step, and drew his palm again. The demon bear fell into a rage, spread out its bare paws to embrace the broken tree, and greeted Jiangnan with a cry. The palm of Jiangnan drew on the broken tree and blasted the broken tree with a bang, and the wood wool shards shot away. Among the sawdust, a black bear's paw shouted towards him. Jiangnan's forehead is under the cover. The bear demon slapped Jiangnan's forehead with a palm, and immediately blood flew, almost like a nail, shooting the whole person into the mud by the river. At the same time, Jiangnan's other palm was slammed on the bear demon, and the black bear weighing more than 1,000 kilograms flew away again. Jiangnan was slapped into the mud with a palm of the bear demon, sinking half-waist deep. After a palm flew away, the bear demon ignored his sinking in the mud, lifted his leg, and kicked the mud in front of him with a bang. Without hindrance, take one step and come to the bear demon again. There are a total of 13 steps in the mountain climbing, and 13 strikes. It is the most ferocious and overbearing one among Jiangnan's current moves. There are 13 steps and 13 strikes in a row, without a half stop or a half point. Respite. In the mountains and forests, there was the sound of footsteps, slaps, and roars of elephants and bears. A large tree fell down and fell down. After a while, the violent noise stopped suddenly. Zhang Nan held up the corpse of a giant bear with his hands, covered in blood, and walked out of the forest step by step. Behind him, there is already a mess, trees felled, branches and leaves broken, everywhere. With these 13 moves and 13 blows, he kept driving this bear demon into the forest for more than 70 feet, and there were more than 10 fallen trees along the way, and finally killed the bear demon. However, he is not well, although the bear demon is still a demon beast, and has not fully cultivated to become a demon, but it is extremely powerful, and it is also an extremely difficult opponent. He slapped Lu Qiji on Jiangnan, where the bear's paw fell. Almost patted his small body into fleshy flesh. If it weren't for Jiangnan, who had practiced the demon prison Xianfei Sutra today, and practiced the dragon tiger Xiang Li Ju to the 5th level, I'm afraid he would never be the opponent of this black bear. Sister, how did I behave? Jiangnan crossed the stone bridge and threw the bear carcass down. He took a breath, and felt all the muscles in his body aching. He endured the pain and asked with a smile. This battle didn't last long, but it exhausted his body. If it weren't for the magic clock in his body, it would be amazing that Jiangnan would be defeated in this battle. His physical fitness is too poor. Although he has cultivated to the realm of bone strengthening, his diet has not kept up. After a fight, his physical fitness is somewhat insufficient. By the stone bridge, beside the Yangchuan River where the shadow of a woman in Diokaya white clothes was Zhou, a light voice came from, Zishuan, you are barely a martial artist, and you are much more mature than when you fought Wu Sijiang. But in front of real martial arts masters, you are still a rookie. Sister, don't worry, I understand this truth. Zhang Nan urged his true energy, rushing through his body, and said in his heart, Sister Zhang Shui is right. Although the bear demon just now has a demon aura, it is not a real demon beast and cannot be transformed into an adult. Moreover, it does with weapons, but not proficient in martial arts, but fighting with brute force, it should be unwieldy, and compared with real martial arts masters, there is a huge gap. Now, he finally understands why Zhang Shui would say that a battle with a monster is suitable for his kind of rookie. Monster bears and other monsters have natural fighting skills, but after all they are not as proficient in martial arts as humans. If monsters are proficient in martial arts, it will be no less than 10 times more dangerous. If this bear demon is also proficient in martial arts, when the first sword falls, it will kill him. In Jiangnan's body, the true qi whistles and rushes for a long time. His true qi is like a pair of invisible palms, massaging the wounds of the body, activating the menstruation and promoting blood circulation, expelling blood from the skin pores, even the broken bones in the body can also be expelled from the body by Genkai. The 4 realms of martial arts, such as skin, flesh, tendons, and bones, can do this. Self-repairing body damage is not Jiangnan's patent. He cultivated the demon prison Suanta Sutra, and his true energy was extremely domineering, and he even repaired his body damage faster than others by a point or two. However, if you want to fully recover, without leaving any future troubles, you need at least 10 days of recuperation. Zhang Nan's eyes flickered. The gains from the previous battle were not just as simple as letting his mind jump from an ordinary person to a martial artist, but also his fighting awareness, reaction speed, fighting skills, ability to adapt to changes, and it was a great baptism to temper his mentality. His gains are remarkable, and he has promoted various ultimate moves in the battle, so that he has a more thorough understanding of these moves, more skillful, and at the same time, he can recognize his own shortcomings. Similarly, his true qi has been used unprecedentedly in battle, the true qi has become more pure and pure, the running speed has been accelerated, and the reaction time has been shortened. Fight desperately, better than 100 years of hard cultivation. Although this sentence is exaggerated, it is not without reason. Jiangnan thought carefully about the changes in his moves in the previous battle and figured out his own shortcomings. It didn't take long for him to discover many flaws in the Dragon Tiger Elephant Force art and repair them. Sister, how is my current strength compared to those of the aristocratic children in the Qi Palace? Zhang Nan asked with a move in his heart. Zhang Shui walked onto the bridge, looked at him with a pretty face, and shook his head, children of the Prince of Qi use ginseng and velvet antler above daily level as ingredients, and use the flesh and blood of monsters as staple food, and even a spirit pill to replenish physical energy and consolidate. Realm. Your diet was too poor in the past, and your body was far less powerful than them. How long can you beat them now? You don't have to be discouraged. In the future, you will hunt monsters and consume the flesh and blood of monsters, and your physical fitness will naturally be extremely strong. The physical body will become stronger and stronger, and it will be easy to surpass them. Jiang Nan nodded silently. He was working in the Prince of Qi. He had already heard that the diet of these children of the prince's palace was terrifying. When they woke up in the morning, they would drink a glass of human milk to replenish their physical strength. Soup, for the children of these aristocratic families. Even more terrifying is that the dining room of the palace consumes 10 huge monster beasts a day, and uses the flesh and blood of these monster beasts as ingredients. Zishuan, it's getting late, let's go back. Zhang Shui turned into a white fox, jumped to his shoulder, and whispered, there are many monsters in Loxia Mountain, especially at night, when monsters are rampant, you can still win against a monster with your current strength. But there is only one dead end when dealing with groups of monsters. By the way, bear meat tastes very good, it makes up for wastage, strengthens muscles and bones, and cannot be wasted. Jiangnan should claim that he stepped forward and cut off the 2 forepalms of the black bear, and cut off more than 10 kilograms of meat before leaving. After returning to the residence, Zhang Shui took out a few large coins and stuffed them into Jiang Nan's hands. Since you are my younger brother, how can you be a slave to others? It was passed out and lost the face of my sister. There is some money here, you going to the Qi Palace to redeem one's own deed of selling one's body will be a free body from now on. Jiangnan wondered, and asked, Sister, where did your money come from? Zhang Shui pursed his lips and smiled, I am a fox fairy, how can I not be proficient in some of the 5 ghosts' fortune? Naturally, these money was carried from the vaults of large families. Jiang Nan suddenly realized that he had heard Tai Zhu mention similar things. Legend has it that a fox demon charms scholars. In addition to beauty, it is money. He took out a lot of silver to lure scholars. If the other party accepts it, he will sell his life. Fox demon, will be eaten by the fox demon that night. Don't worry, elder sister won't eat your care. Zhang Shui seemed to see through his thoughts and smiled. Jiang Nan's face turned red, and he took the silver and walked towards the Qi Palace. The official in the palace saw that he could use such a large sum of money to redeem himself. When asked about the source of the money, Jiang Nan only said that his lost sister had found it. There is no doubt. Seeing him redeeming the contract of selling, Zhang Shui said, if you are poor in learning culture and rich in martial arts, and working for your livelihood all day long, you will delay martial arts practice. Your martial arts progress is slow, and my recovery will be much slower. Yuyuganshu.com, I still have some money here. You can buy a real estate, make sure that you have no worries about food and clothing, and concentrate on practicing. She took out some silver coins and asked Jiang Nan to buy a quadrangle courtyard in the city, add furniture, and bought 2 more maids to wait for food and drink, and moved in with Jiang Nan. Jiangnan looked at his new home blankly and shook his head, still a little unbelievable. All this happened too quickly. Before, he was still a messenger in the prince's palace, a poor boy who was too poor, but now he has transformed into a master with a family and a servant. He stretches out his clothes and opens his mouth when he eats. Tai Zhu heard that Jiangnan got rid of slavery and bought real estate. He came to Dao Xi with a can of wine. Jiangnan ordered the maid to take the bear's paw and bear meat to cook. The 2 brothers ate, got drunk, and broke up happily. Sister Zhang Shui is really good. After I got rid of slavery, I have no worries about food and clothing, and my practice is even more convenient. However, I used to eat too poorly, and it took a while for my body to recover. In the past few days, Jiangnan and Zhang Shui traveled together to Loxia Mountain to find the monster beasts that were alone. After a series of battles, Jiangnan deeply realized that his physical fitness had become the key to restricting his cultivation level, but every battle he has gained a lot, and taking the flesh and blood of the monster beast has gradually improved his physical fitness and become stronger and stronger. Although my body is improving, it is still far from enough. With my current strength, if I compete with a disciple of the Prince Qi Palace who is also in the realm of bone refining, if the first 20 moves cannot win the opponent, I must be the loser. His physical stamina is simply incomparable to those from the aristocratic families of Prince Qi Palace. Zhang Nan sighed and said in his heart. Daizun has a book friend group number, 48516276, group name, Daizun Book Friend Group. All book friends can join, pigs will also show up frequently, welcome everyone to come in and gossip. The children of the great lords of the Qi Palace and other aristocratic families not only have the flesh and blood of monsters and animals, but also have miraculous medicine to improve physical fitness, cultivate genkai, and enhance mind and spiritual consciousness. Although Jiangnan also consumes the flesh and blood of monsters these days, it is far inferior to the treatment of the children of these aristocratic families. And with the passage of time, the gap between him and the children of these aristocratic families will only grow larger, rather than shortened. However, the elixir is so precious and rare. A pill is worth 100 gold, and even the ordinary children of the Qi Palace cannot take it every day. The ordinary monsters on the edge of Loxia Mountain are no longer his opponents. Jiangnan also began to slowly go deep into Loxia Mountain, looking for stronger monsters, but he dared not enter the deepest part of Loxia Mountain. There are many monsters in Loxia Mountain, among them there are even big monsters comparable to the power of God Wheel. Even King Qi and other power people of God Wheel don't dare to get involved easily. With Jiangnan's current strength, going in is looking for death. On this day, Jiangnan and Zhang Shui went deep into Loxia Mountain and met a demon tiger by the side of the mountain stream. After all the hardships, they killed the demon tiger. Jiangnan drank the monster blood, only to feel that the tiger blood contained extremely strong energy, which quickly replenished his physical energy consumption, which made his physical fitness a bit better than usual. He said in his heart, although I am not as good as the children of the Qi family, I practice the speed is much faster than them. If you work with them, you can only suppress them with your cultivation base, but at the same level, I am not their opponent. How can I quickly improve my physical fitness? He frowned slightly. These days, he has been diligent in cultivation and has reached the middle of bone training. This speed is indeed shocking, but the body is the foundation of martial arts. Without strong physical support, the martial arts will be greatly affected. Limits. However, his gains are also extremely amazing. On the surface of the magic clock in his body, the martial arts brand began to appear. Instead of floating words, it turned into patterns and imprinted on the black magic clock. For example, the Jianjiao breaking waves Ju turns into a big river flowing out of deep valleys, the moon rises in the middle of the river, with a profound artistic conception, while the dragon, tiger, and elephant force Ju transforms into a pattern of the dragon, tiger, and elephant fighting fiercely, as well as the magical art of transforming blood. It is a gloomy lake of blood, and the civet cat 13 flutter is a situation where a civet cat flutters smartly. This is Zhang Nan's comprehension of these techniques has reached a very high level, turned into his own understanding of martial arts, turned into a kind of wonderful mood, absorbed by the magic clock. The demon prison Suanta Sutra begins by saying that the ancestors are not enough, and the heavens are not feared, but Jiangnan practiced this practice, but found that this practice is not completely abandoning the previous practice, but can absorb the strengths of the previous practice, to be improved and turned into your own martial arts knowledge. He rested for a while, and was about to get up and leave. Suddenly, he heard the sound of his clothes breaking from the other side of the mountain stream, and the roar of beasts hit the forest. Zhang Nan's heart moved, and when he looked back, he saw a girl in red roaming like flying in the mountains and forests, rushing quickly, and behind the girl in red, there was a golden scale giant python that was 4 or 5 feet long rushing. "Come, open your mouth and bite the girl in red." The girl in red was also able to get away. She twisted her body during a critical period and slid through the mouth of the python, avoiding the fatal blow. The golden scale python has a red fleshy crown on its head, and the fleshy crown has a red line extending from the back to the tail, red as blood. The boa constrictor missed a hit, and immediately became furious. His tail suddenly rolled up a big tree with the thickness of a bucket. He uprooted the big tree, and swept the girl in red with a whir. A soft sword suddenly appeared in the red-clothed girl's hand. With a flick of her arm, the sword light shone, snorted, and cut the swept tree to pieces in the blink of an eye. This soft sword is extremely sharp, ever-changing in the girl's hand. Its sword light is white. It comes and goes vertically and horizontally, cutting to the golden scale python like rain. I only heard the sound of ding ding ding. The soft sword fell on the boa constrictor. Unexpectedly a string of sparks appeared, not even a snake scale was pierced. "Orion in front, get out of the way." The red-clothed girl saw a white fox squatting on Jiangnan's shoulders and a tiger on his back. She thought it was a hunting hunter in the Loxia mountain. While evading the big python, she hurriedly said, "This golden-scaled red-threaded python is very poisonous. You will kill you if you smell the poisonous gas. Why don't you leave? This woman is also kind, not a bad person." Jiangnan watched. Suddenly the golden-scaled red-threaded python noticed him, hesitated slightly, and immediately abandoned the red girl and rushed towards Jiangnan. My yang energy is too strong, and it really became the sweet pastry in the eyes of these monsters. Everyone wants to take a bite. Jiangnan was a little bit dumbfounded, and now he finally understood why Zhang Shui would say that he was the Tang monk meat in the eyes of the beast. This golden scale red thread had been chasing the girl in red for a long time, and when he saw him, he immediately threw the girl away. It is precisely because the yang qi of Jiangnan is too strong, it looks like a big human-shaped torch in the eyes of the monster. For the monster beast, he definitely makes up for it. A violent wind blew from the mouth of the golden-scaled red-threaded python, with a strong smell of fishy smell. This big python spouted a breath of poison before it got close. The red-clothed girl exclaimed, "The Orion, the golden-scaled red-threaded python is very poisonous, hurry up and hide." Jiangnan suddenly felt dizzy, and a black air appeared on his face. He couldn't help but be surprised. What a terrible toxin! There is a strong poison in this smelly gust of wind. He only took a sip, and only felt that the lively qi in his body had become lazy and stagnant, and even his limbs had become extremely heavy. It felt very difficult to raise his hands and feet. Wow! The golden scale python swam into the mountain stream, and the tail broke open the water as soon as its tail moved. 2 waves of 4 or 5 feet high slapped away on both sides with a terrifying momentum. In the water, the boa constrictor raised its head high. Its head is like a triangular soldering iron, its eyes are like the candle flame of a candle, faintly born, staring at Jiangnan on the opposite side of the mountain, as if looking at a prey that is about to arrive. This large python is obviously also a different kind of monster in Loxia mountain. It does not hibernate like an ordinary snake and python. For some reason, it was disturbed by the red-clothed girl and came out to eat people. Its body is more than 4 feet long, its flat head is raised high, a few heads higher than Jiangnan, its pupils are upright, and it is fixed on Jiangnan. Its scarlet tongue is like a forked iron fork, hesitating and vomiting from time to time. The strong poisonous fog set off a gust of wind, and almost instantly, he swam to the other side of the mountain stream and rushed towards the south of the Yangtze River. Very poisonous monster, Zhang Nan encountered it for the first time, and his heart sank. The toxicity of this golden scale python is so fierce that it even makes his limbs feel paralyzed, including his true energy, almost paralyzed by the poison. The red-clothed girl hurriedly rushed forward, tapping her toes continuously on the surface of the water, and came across the mountain stream. She looked like a swallow, her sword light flickered, and she pierced the eyes of a golden scale python. The golden-scaled python's tail was raised and pulled out fiercely. The red-clothed girl hurriedly swung her sword to block it. All of a sudden, she felt a huge force coming from her body. Her body was shaken by the air, and her body was twisted and fell in the middle of the mountain stream. Above a piece of reef, the snake's tail was drawn horizontally, and the girl had to fight desperately against the tail of the golden scale python. At the same time, the golden scale python hissed in his mouth, opened his mouth and swallowed it to the south of the Yangtze River. Zishuan, if you can't deal with such poisons, you might as well speak up. Jiang Shui sounded like a mosquito, and said unhurriedly on Jiangnan's shoulders. Jiangnan's eyes were bright, and he said in a deep voice, "Sister, don't worry, I said that if you don't need to act, you will never break your promise." The demon prisoner. With a low cry, he reversed the mysterious fetus meridian of the demon prison, and his whole body opened 108,000 pores, and his true energy flowed, expelling the poisonous mist of the golden scale python from the pores, and then his eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body-mind, all closed. 108,000 pores turned into a door to hide tightly, and with a movement, he rushed to the golden scale python. Demon Prison Suanta Sutra, coupled with the realm of martial arts, and Jiangnan's own ingenuity, he quickly grasped the key to detoxification. The toxins are discharged, and the body function is restored to its peak state. The golden scale large python hissed in its mouth, abruptly abandoning the red-clothed girl, wandering fast, and rushing towards Jiangnan. It was extremely furious. It seemed to be irritated by the little human being in Jiangnan who dared to challenge itself instead of waiting to be himself. Swallow in one bite. The dragon and the snake get up. Jiangnan's body method suddenly changed, the infuriating energy moved violently, his body rubbed against the air, and he made a deep dragon roar. He was like a swimming dragon, above his momentum, even overpowering this golden scale python. I want to see, it's your snake is stronger, Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com or my dragon is stronger. Unlike the hard bridge and hard horse in the previous battle with the bear demon, they used a hard collision. The mountain stream in the south of the river and the golden scale python wandered and fought, and their whereabouts were uncertain. One person and one python collided with each other, just like the deadly of a poisonous snake. With one blow, he immediately retracted after revealing his fangs, and never entangled much. One person and one python quickly rushed from the side of the mountain into the nearby mountains and forests. In the mountains, dragons roaring, pythons hissed, poisonous fog filled, and from time to time a big tree was broken and fell to the ground. This battle is more difficult than the battle with the bear demon. The golden scale giant python is much stronger than the bear demon, and its toxicity is even more violent. Even if Jiangnan closes all the pores on his body, but is sprayed with venom, it will still be poisoned. This poison requires him to expend his true qi to get rid of it, so that his true qi is being consumed violently all the time. And the power of the golden scale python will never be inferior to that of the bear demon, or even better. The strangulation power is amazing. Even a big tree hugged by two people can be smashed by its tail. If you are entangled by it, you will escape nowhere, you can only be tightened by it, until you suffocate, and your bones are broken to death. On the way to fight the golden scale giant python, Jiangnan has a deeper and more thorough understanding of the dragon in the Dragon Tiger Elephant Force Ju. The poisonous python will follow the dragon. If he can practice for a long time, one day he will shed his snake skin, turned into a poisonous flood. From the form of this poisonous python, Jiangnan can also grasp some of the ever-changing skills of the dragon and tiger in the Dragon and Tiger Elephant Force formula, so that the Dragon and Tiger Elephant Force formula is more perfect. This poisonous python takes care of both the head and the tail, and the head is to the tail when the head is hit, and the head is to the tail when the tail is hit. I wish all book friends a happy Lantern Festival, reunion, and happiness. Sincerely, Zaizu.